Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Engage Master Series Finals. It is Zenith. I am here joined by, and it's a huge pleasure for me to be joined by none other than Inda. Inda is our guest caster, 2023 NAIC champion, and as well as that, he is working with Team Orange Juices as a coach as well. Inda, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Zenith. I'm really excited for today's tournament. It's the first event I'm going to get to watch with these teams playing on the new patch. And I think that the teams are really excited that they have an opportunity to practice in a more serious environment. So games are going to be really good today.
Absolutely. Like before we go straight into the games, I really want to just set some context for all the viewers that are going to be tuning in to this series finale. We've had 3 weeks of ladder rounds where teams from EU, teams from NA have been battling it out from Monday to Saturday, climbing the leaderboard with 4 teams from NA and 4 teams from EU qualifying to the group stages. And those are the grassroots scene teams. On top of that, we had the open qualifier last week where we had 16 teams battle it out with the top 8 teams also qualify for the group stages. On that Sunday, we had the group stages where all 16 teams that have qualified had to battle it out, and only the remaining 8 teams. So we filtered it really, really well for the grassroots scenes. The best of the best have now made it to the finals. And who have you teamed them up against? We've teamed them up against 8 pro teams, majority of them all at Worlds. Inda, how does all of that sound to you?
Really exciting. And, some of the grassroots teams are teams that have had some success at various different events as well. So no surprise to see them climb to the ranks and make it all the way up here. And good chance for them to get a nice showing now that the competitive season mostly is over.
Absolutely. We are going to be starting with the first match. So whenever we are ready to go with that, I think we're ready to go with that. We are going to be looking at the first game for us on this stream. There are 2 streams. One is Unite Battle Hub, which will be streaming one game, which I think they're starting with Nouns Esport. They've started with Nouns Esport. We're going to be starting with Team Nemesis. So it's in your homeland. In this case, it's you're playing home. I'm playing away.
That's right, yeah. I mean, the Nouns game, I'm sure, is going to be great. Nemesis, also a great team. They got second at NAIC this year. They had a good showing at EUIC, and they've been pretty much one of the most consistent teams all year within North America. And I think they're going to be a solid set of games. I know they are going up against a slightly more unknown team in Captain Mayo and friends, but there's players on this team that have been around the block. So I still expect it to be a very formidable match.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've worked really hard to get here, but it is going to be a true testament if they can overcome a team like Nemesis, which, they are like top 3 in NA, in my opinion, as well. So we're ready from our side. If the teams are ready, we'll get that rolling on our end. And it's especially quite interesting for me because I've met Nemesis in the EUIC, had a good sit down, spent some time on a podcast with them. Really, really amazing bunch of determined guys. And straight after that podcast, they went on and did, I think, a 5-0 in the EUIC as well. The only team that dominated that open rounds of the EUIC. So I'm excited to see them play, especially a player like Metallic. What do you make of Metallic?
Yeah, I think Metallic, definitely an up-and-comer, and he's filling in one of the most challenged roles in Pokemon Unite in that top lane. Historically, it's been a very tough lane. We see a lot of players struggle to have success there, and he's been able to, kind of make his own identity within that role. I think one of the things that stands out the most to me is even though he's a young lad, just turned 16, he actually has some really good in-game leadership qualities. Whenever I've seen him play, I always see him, commanding the team. Even if he's down and he's, the play isn't about him, he's always ready to help direct his teammates, which is something really inspiring to see from someone that's so young.
Yeah, absolutely. He is definitely he is the youngest on the team. And here we go. We've got the draft rounds in. Do you want to just talk us through? Because I know you do this with the actual championship matches and we will enjoy it. So tell us about the bans and the drafts.
Yeah. So we're going to see Slowbro get banned out first. Not too surprising there. There's a big buff to Scald. reducing attack stat by 60% now. I think we're going to see a lot of that this tournament, either early Slowbro picks or bans out. Everything else pretty much standard. Umbreon has been a defender that's been popular since its release. Phalanx, we saw people deemed it the best character at NAIC. I think it had a 100% win rate in the main event. Blaziken, pretty much similar story, an all-rounder, good secure. So these teams, pretty standard bans. Looks like both teams came to play. Sylveon being the first pick, also not much of a surprise. This Pokemon's in the Japan Nationals, which occurred about a month ago, was the only Pokemon that was picked in 100% of the games. There was not a single game that went by without Sylveon coming through. So not surprising to see that there. What is a little bit shocking is to see this double defender pickup. You don't often see Tree and Crustle, especially with Tree getting some nerfs as of late. But this does kind of remove the defender pool away from Nemesis. They banned 2 of them. Now we have Captain Mayo on the other side taking away some of them. So a lot of this does make sense. They do force themselves to send that Tree to the top lane now. And then we see, a couple evolutions on both sides, a couple supporters on each side. Nothing too shocking here. Trainer, as you mentioned in EUIC, Nemesis had a great run, and he was one of the ones that really showed the world that Leafeon is a Pokemon that has potential, especially in that Razor Leaf build. Funny that Kabi-chan's and some of the other Japanese teams actually shouted him out and were like, this guy really showed us that Razor Leaf Leafeon is viable. But yeah, as we round out the draft, everything looks pretty standard. Snorlax, T-Tar, Pokemon we saw got buffed recently, and then a couple more evolutions for both sides.
Yeah, you mentioned something really interesting with regards to the ban of the defenders, and then they are forcing that defender pool to be stretched with Aznavour, who's a tanky guy. He really does save the team at times with his skills as a tank. But on the other side, we actually have Kelvin, who plays for the Talibobo Unleashed or Talibobo Believers as well, who's been recruited into this team. So it's going to be very interesting to see the 2 tanks pit their wits against each other, as well as we head into game number 1 of round 1, Captain Mayo and Friends versus Nemesis. And this is going to be super interesting. One, because we've got Rex on the Hooper. Rex can play a variety of very annoying support as well, with the Sableye within his armory as well, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think Rex tends to be a fan of the trickster kind of supports. We also see him on Blissey, and Nemesis, a team that definitely enjoys that Blissey as well. One thing that's interesting is I saw Rex have the leftovers on Hoopa, item that I'm still a little bit skeptical of. We saw it in the Japanese meta where they were running Trick Hoopa with leftovers. So it'll be interesting to see if he opts to still get Trick, as that was nerfed in the most latest balance patch. So that leftover strategy, I don't know if it's still viable. I'm not entirely sold on if it was ever that good to begin with, but we'll see how Rex can make use of it and what they're going to do here with that. Both teams here looking to set up their EVs here. As you see, Trainer is going to hit level 4 directly off that red buff. Rex is going to EXP share that away. And we see the other side doing the exact same thing. The Eldegoss is going to get that red buff. And Trainer already able to pick up a KO in that top side, taking down the tree. Now they're going to want to advance to get some attack weight stacks up, as we, really want to focus on this top side of the map here. This is where the Tyranitar is. Both teams recognize that. But with that early game KO going to the side of Nemesis, they're going to have a definitely good early game advantage here.
Yeah, we've got a couple of EVs online, but Sylveon is looking to get online within the next minute or so if they can secure this farm. And Sylveon's been a really, really important part of the comps recently as well, right? What does Sylveon bring to the game?
So Sylveon just has this ability that, once you get level 4, whether you go Hyper Voice or Mystical Fire, you're just so tanky and really hard to remove from fights. Likely we'll see that Mystical Fire build, which can apply a debuff to some of these special attackers, lowering their damage. And just that mobility and tankiness really comes into handy. So you see Trainer here looking to invade the enemy central area. There was a hyperspace portal, but they're not able to actually get that offline. Trainer's going to end up going down. This is going to stint a bit of their early game momentum. But one of the good things about Nemesis composition here is that you can't shut down Trainer and Metallic at the same time. If Trainer's going to go down in their central area, not great for them, but at least now Metallic gets that space in their area to be able to farm. You see Rex try to contest this blue buff. It is tough into that Icy Wind Glaceon, but he should be able to get out with that hyperspace portal, so no worries there. As Nemesis now has the space to be able to take control of the central area Altaria here. And now, Trainer, despite going down to the enemy EVs in their central area, he's going to be level 7 soon. Metallic's hitting level 7. So, left side team, they're the team that has the initiative or they're the team that has, like, the ability to run away with the game or the ability to lose the game in this T-Tar. If T-Tar can get level 9 at a reasonable pace, they're going to be looking solid. If that can be denied, then that's going to be troublesome for them. But right now, Nemesis is looking solid.
Yep, as we head into the 720 Altarias here, we are looking to collect the farm for that Tyranitar. We are seeing a hoop space and not a trick hooper that's been quite popular as of late, but I think there's that level of security when you've got hoop space. And there's the Leafeon heading in and taking out Glaceon on the other side, and it's going to be taking out that Eldegoss as well. Done really well there with Trainer on the Leafeon, who's going to apply pressure onto this top lane Regieleki. But can the tree take it? No, it can't. And it is looking like early pressure from Team Nemesis. And Asnable is literally holding it down against Kelvin on that bottom lane, where given the rest of the teams, I guess both of them have sent a blanket of security to fight in the top lane. But they are going to be pushed back here, and Captain Mayo and friends are going to be holding on and holding off this Regieleki. Trainer does come back, but he will back off as the Regieleki heads to its own demise.
Yeah, Regieleki goes down, but it does ensure that Nemesis has the safety of not being pressure on the map. Like I was talking about, Metallic's looking solid on his XP. Oftentimes we'll see the team with the Tyranitar lose some of their early game pads and really struggle to get online. But Metallic's almost going to be level 9 as he just gets level 9 heading into this Regirock. And yeah, I mean, this is going to be really, really scary for the other team here.
Yep, we are seeing that pressure on that Regirock with Metallic on his Tyranitar here. Metallic has such a good pool of all-rounders, and he plays them really, really well. There's Tyranitar with its Unite as well. It will back off as well as they go through the Hooper portal, and it doesn't seem like that Regirock is going down just yet. Leafeon comes in with his Unite, but it is going to Captain Mayo and friends.
Yeah, that was actually well played. Metallic's engage was denied there a little bit as he jumped in by Solony on that Espeon. They were able to secure that Regirock there as well. So despite, him being online at a reasonable pace, Captain Mayo are holding their own, and, they're going to be able to hold down these pads. They got this first objective as well. And even though they might not have that late game security in that Tyranitar, this Icy Wind Glaceon, if it does get ahead in experience, can definitely be very, very scary as well.
Yeah, would it have been better for the Sylveon to go Hyper Voice with these two tanks playing on the other team?
Hyper Voice can definitely work as well, but Yeet's job this game is to be more of like a nuisance. He's the third option. Trainer and Metallic are the ones that are really going to be prioritizing all the farm. So Yeet's playing almost of a supportive role here. His job is to lower the enemy team's damage, act like a pseudo tank in a way, as we see Trainer hop onto that pad and be able to Emerald 2-step their way into another KO. And yeah, Yeet's, he's playing like a follow me kind of pseudo supporter, defender, jack of all trades build. He just wants to take away the attention from the rest of his carries. As you see, Captain Mayo put in a lot of aggression in the early game here. They're going to take down the second Regieleki, get Metallic in the process as well, as Trainer was forced to back off. They're going to try to go for a siege here, but it is going to be quite tough as their Glaceon isn't with them, who is their primary damage dealer. We might see them just back off and elect to take some of the rest of the farm on the map here.
Yep, and I think that's exactly what's happening right now. The Glaceon is going to be heading through and farming up in the jungle, pretty much heading to level 11 at this point, as both teams rotate down to the bottom objective. There goes another Unite, but it doesn't finish off the Glaceon, and both teams are rotating now. The Hooper Ball is sending the teams down. Tyranitar is down as well, and it is looking like a 3v3, a 4v3 at the bottom lane.
Yeah, so far neither team able to take down any of these pads, which does favor Nemesis quite a bit. They've got that security. As we saw Solony go for a second Psyshock secure, he's been really on point with his secures this game, and both bottom Regis, both basement Regis have gone his way on that Espeon. which is really crucial for their team to stay ahead in experience and not fall behind to this Tyranitar. And, Nemesis, while they have that advantage of that Hoopa hyperspace highway, being able to take them throughout the map, Captain Mayo, they're staying in the game primarily on the back of some of these Espeon secures. When it comes to the late game, though, taking down this Tyranitar will still be a huge feat. And we'll see if either of these teams is able to capitalize on the final Reggie of the game. That's going to be that Regieleki on the top side of the map. If they can, if the team can capture it and put themselves in a good point lead, that's the team that's going to have the initiative and be favorable when it comes to this Rayquaza fight.
Yeah, let's see if the teams actually play for this objective or play it cautiously, because it could be quite risky with 20 seconds to go. And Inda, you're going to walk us through this Ray fight after this objective. The Regieleki is halfway through now. It doesn't look like they are going to be finishing it off. Both teams are instead going to be working on themselves or their opponents. Yeah, Snorlax goes down, which is quite big, 4 seconds before Ray. And Asnable not being here is a huge advantage for Captain.
Yeah, so we saw AZ try to stall out this Regieleki. Looked like his team was not going to be able to get it. Trainer able to find a very important flank positioning. Solon, he's going to face check it. He's going to take a lot of damage. Instantly fall to Trainer. Something that Trainer does really well is finding these early positions and able to just go for that assassinate. This is going to buy Nemesis at least another 15 seconds and the ability to get superior positioning here as they close off this central area here. And Nemesis at the same time using their worldly a macro in the end game here, able to score another 100 on the bottom side of the map. That's going to give them the point lead. And now Captain Mayo are the team that needs to make something happen. They know that they're behind by over 100 here. Rayquaza is going to be their best bet to be able to win this game. As we see AZ find a 3-man heavy slam into Yon, into the power nap. That's going to be an engage that they're going to want to follow up on as Captain Mayo loses both of their EVs and their Eldegoss in that process. Beautiful engage from the side of AZ there. And that's going to be a full 4-team team-man wipe, and I think this Trevenant's going to go down into Nemesis being able to take control of this game. They're going to get Rayquaza off the map. They don't want to have to deal with any comeback potential, and we're going to give game number 1 likely over here to Nemesis off of a beautiful engage on AZ on that Snorlax.
That was definitely experience on the highest level in a Ray fight there. Even with their main tank down, they stalled for time, did what they needed to take out whatever members they could early with Trainer, and they took that Ray fight really well, taking out and wiping out the rest of the teams as well. This is going to be looking like a first game win for Nemesis, even though I do think Captain's team have actually put up a good fight throughout the game. It was just sheer experience in the Ray fight that's looking like the game changer at this point.
Yeah, Pokemon Unite, can be a very systematic game there, and it's easy to point to one error, like AZ found a beautiful engage, but it really started with Trainer getting that positioning early in that central area, being able to pick off that Espeon. That KO ensured that Nemesis had the space to both take control of the central area and go for the cap on the bottom side. That point lead that they were able to develop in that 2-minute mark allowed them to have better positioning, where AZ was enabled to be able to find that 3-man heavy slam, and then from there the game is essentially over. So they did put up a good fight. They played the 8 minutes very solid, but it just takes one misstep. You chuck one bush as a ranged character. You don't wait for your tank, and it can cost you the entire game. So well played by them up until the end there. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And I think if I'm looking at the MVP of this game itself, I think I'm looking at a Trainer with his ability to, really get himself on the higher levels and be in a position where he can dominate, especially in that late game. Yeah. Perfect. Awesome. Let's head back into the casting screen and see how we can just analyze this a little bit. We are going to be heading into game number 2 once the teams are ready, but that looked like a huge kind of point difference, but really and truly the whole game wasn't as sparsed out or spaced out in that way, right? It was somewhat closer, and Captain did put up a good fight until the Ray fight, right?
Yeah, they stuck around in the game. I would say if they didn't get those 2 baseman Reggie steals off that Espeon, their game might have looked much more rough Nemesis might have been able to take down some pads earlier on, and that might have really changed the tides of the game. So they did hang in there. If I want them to make some adjustments going into the next game, they have to be a lot more proactive, right? If you're playing into a Tyranitar in those early stages when it's a Larvitar in that Pupitar stage, that's really your opportunity to take control of the game. If you have Glaceon, Espeon, Eldegoss, Crustle, these really early game dominant Pokemon, meeting the enemy team halfway and playing a game of status quo is not enough. This isn't a game like basketball or soccer where, even if you're playing a better team, just going toe to toe is good enough. If you're playing a good team on a late game scaling Pokemon, you have to come out the game swinging really, really hard. They have to take more chances. We didn't see them do any early game, 4-man rotations, nothing like that. They're really going to have to apply some pressure if they're going to be going into Pokemon like that Tyranitar. Because without that, Trainer now, in that game, talk a lot about how Trainer is very successful. That does also come as a symptom of the enemy team having to deal with this Tyranitar. Once that Tyranitar is online with that Hoopa, these pads become really hard to push. If you want to take a fight in that central area, you're dealing with this Leafeon, which can be troublesome as well. So overall, they hung in there, but into a T-Tar, hanging around is just not enough. As I do think we're going to be getting into game number 2 very shortly here as well in that draft phase.
Yep, we are going into game number 2. Now, look, the way these brackets are set up is one grassroots team against one pro team. So we kind of understand that there will be a level of favoritism in a sense towards the most experienced team. But this is also a big test for the grassroots teams, especially to challenge for what we're looking at for them, Worlds 2025. We've got an early ban of Phalanx and Blaziken on this side, and it looks like they are very wary of the Blaziken from Metallic as well. It's got a really good Blaziken. But on the other side, we've got 2 defenders being banned as well. We've got Iglo taking the first pick here, and it is going to be Tanzim taking up that Sylveon. Walk us through these drafts, please, Indo.
Yeah, so we see, funny enough, the same bans, but from opposite teams on opposite sides. We saw the second pick team take that Phalanx out, which leads me to believe that Captain Mayo isn't confident in their own Phalanx gameplay because, if you're first pick, you would really want to just be able to take that for yourself. Or they have a different plan for this draft as they're going to take away that Sylveon, which Yeet was looking pretty decent on. Similar case, we see that Hoopa, Leafeon, this core really sets up a good early game, and now they can transition into that T-Tar if they want it again. Chalvin's going to opt to take Snorlax for himself here. That early Snorlax pick here might be a little shocking considering Trevenant and Crustle are still in the pool, but Snorlax can often be a good counter into that Hyperspace portal. The Heavy Slam knockup prevents enemies from being able to go through that portal, and you can really pick up some key KOs there. On the opposite side, we see Yeetfan take that Cramorant Pokemon that got buffed about a month ago in 2 balance patches ago, and Yeet was looking really strong. We actually saw at NAIC this year, a lot of teams were actually respect banning away this Cramorant, so it's not something Yeetfan normally gets to play. Some exciting picks though from Captain Mayo, and I'm looking forward to them shaking it up a little bit with Mew and Metagross. Mew, a very difficult Pokemon to pilot, especially given the nerfs. If this Pokemon falls behind, it can really, really struggle to have any kind of relevance within the late game. But, if Solani, plays the way that they were in the Espeon in the early game, I'm confident that we can see a decent showing from them. As Nemesis rounds out the draft. No Tyranitar this time. I guess they want to shake things up a little bit and switch over to that Gyarados, which Metallic has been playing a decent amount of. Looking good on as well. So it's relatively similar drafts, a little bit of changes from both sides. I like the adjustments that Captain Mayo is making here as well. And we'll see if they're able to go punch for punch again with Nemesis here in the early game, and if they can close out the Ray fight a little bit better to maybe get an upset and move this to game number 3.
Yeah, I just feel like Nemesis are playing all their favorite Pokemons at this point. We've got Crustle and Asnable on the Crustle, and Yeet's Cramorant. We even saw that in the EUIC. It is deadly, and one to be definitely respect banned. As you mentioned, it would be a smart move to do. This is going to be the final match. If Nemesis does win, then we are going to be sending Captain Mayo and friends to the losers brackets to climb their way up. But the game is starting, and we have game number 2 of round 1, Captain Mayo and friends versus Nemesis, with the purple team as Captain Mayo and friends. We've got Snorlax and the Mew bottom lane, and Rex is gonna be, I think he might be heading into an invade situation here.
Yeah, this is definitely an invade that's possible into the Sylveon, and a double invade that they can use to pressure this blue buff here as well. Anticipating that the Sylveon will likely be trying to do this red buff to get an early level 4. And we do see the Eldegoss move over. They're not able to actually tank that confusion, which is gonna, cause them to take it down. Trainer joins in the invade as well, as something that we see a lot of teams leverage with the evolutions. And if you're not prepared for it, it can definitely take you off guard. At least Captain Mayo was able to get some compensation, take down AZ, and get some scores on that bottom path. But this is going to leave the Sylveon stranded to be able to get their evolution, as Rex is going to apply some pressure on that bottom ball toy in the center area as well. I think they recognize that that might be a little too difficult, so they're sending the Sylveon up just to get their level 4. Pretty tough start for the side of Captain Mayo. Again, Metallic, not on the Tyranitar, but on a weaker early game Mon. So these invades and a lot of the space that Trainer makes does open it up for Metallic to scale faster in the early game. So yeah, well played by Nemesis. Definitely good practice for Captain Mayo. This is something you should expect. The Japanese teams love doing these double invades as well. So if you want to play on the global stage, you should be ready that the central area is not safe for your team any longer.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, you've played in these kind of tournaments, whether it's regional or worlds. You've been there. You've seen what it's like with teams and the level and the standard that they set as well. As you can see right now with the Leafeon also taking out Sylveon once again, and then just recovering back with the Hyperspace Portal as well. It is definitely a testing ground for not just the grassroots teams who are looking to test themselves against pro teams, but also the pro teams to try out new strategies as well, right?
Yeah, for sure. There is no better way to try out these strategies than in a tournament kind of setting. This way, you get the ability to know that your opponents are trying their absolute hardest. And, it's tough to take these strategies onto the ladder where you're going to have much more unsuspecting teams. So these types of different gameplay variations, as we Trainer, that Emerald 2-step already online, going to pick up a Chaos Shrika 2, maybe Chaos Shrika 3 here as well. Eldegoss just able to scurry away. But yeah, this is a great practice ground for Nemesis. I'm sure they're going to take some of these back, make some adjustments as well, figure out what went right on this double invade kind of strategy, what didn't go right. And that'll be great for them. Nemesis also not, they're a very experienced team. It's not the first time that they're doing a strategy like this, so it mostly just affirms their playstyle here. As an interesting build from Yeet, we saw this Otter play a lot of this build from LG at the NEIC this year as well. The Dive Hurricane, a little bit of an unconventional build, but it is a very strong build, as both these build moves did get buffed recently. Has that Cramorant Unite move to provide some zoning as Trainer picks up this bottom Reggie. And this game is looking a lot more like the Nemesis that we're used to seeing, especially against a team that might not be as experienced. Where last game, Captain Mayo was able to hold their ground and they were able to, go blow for blow with Nemesis. This game, Nemesis is kind of just taking over the game, and it's going to be on Captain Mayo to kind of find some comeback opportunity, as both Trainer and Metallic are level 10, staring down some under-leveled Pokemon on the opposite side.
Yeah, it looks like Team Nemesis basically said, let's take the weights off and just play the way that we want to play at this point. And yeah, absolutely correct with what you mentioned. The pressure is being built up by Nemesis, and the lead is getting a little bit more stretched. And I feel like they've played majority of their game in the enemy jungle at this point, which I've seen a few times as well. But something interesting you mentioned as well with the Cramorant build as well. It's a very interesting new build because it's and he's about to score an overcap of 31 here. But Hurricane and Dive is something that I've been seeing a lot. I think I saw Zagreb playing that yesterday as well, and he played it really, really well. So, you know, this is going to be interesting as we head and rotate for the Regieleki here, and it's halfway through the game, but this lead is looking very, very deadly. And it's, I mean, is there a way back for Team Captain Mayo, and what would they need to do at this Ray fight?
Yeah, it's Pokemon Unite, so there's always a way back into the game. They have both their pads taken down, which means they have access to the side Indeedis that they can farm. As we see Metagross looking for a Unite move, they do get that wall put up and almost able to take down Trainer. That bonus experience from that shutdown KO would have been quite nice. And, you know, they're doing the right thing. They farmed the map. They're trying to look for some KOs, and they're under-leveled, so they're going to be tough to come by. And they're playing into one of the best teams in the world, Nemesis. So it is going to be tough for them to find a footing here. You know, these points, the point lead does start to look a little insurmountable. But if they can just hang on, they just need to, you know, stay alive for 2 more minutes, keep their head above water, get as much experience as they can, and, you know, try to find any sort of mismatch, any mistake that Nemesis gives up, where they can look for a KO and then instantly strike onto that Rayquaza. So the next, you know, minute and a half, 2 minutes are still likely gonna look rough for this team on Captain Mayo. But right there, that could have been an opening. If that Heavy Slam connected onto Trainer being a little bit, you know, ambitious there with his looks into that tall grass there, you know, it just takes a small moment like that, a Heavy Slam from Snorlax into a Yawn, or whatever it might be, as, you know, Trainer able to find that dive, another 4-man team wipe there. So yeah, it is, like I said, it's gonna look tough for Captain Mayo, but they can keep looking for some opportunities, and then they just got to show up to Ray and give it everything they have for one final fight.
Yeah, there is the other strategy I've seen where when the team has such a dominant lead, they actually just don't care for the other team getting the Ray, and they just go for the base, because we have both the T2 goals being worked, one already gone, and the other one is getting these points in. So it's hard when you've got Ray to keep one eye on and the other eye with the enemy team just dominating that middle goal right at the end, because they just don't care about Ray if it's that mountable, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, you know, with this top T2 going down, we're going to see Nemesis kind of hold this Regieleki a little bit to try to create a pin where the Regieleki will be walking during the Ray fight. But right here, they can pick up a KO on Metallic or even force him to use his Unite move. This can be the start of their comeback. So they are going to go down here. This pin from the Regieleki, essentially Regieleki is going to be pressuring their home. So they have to choose. Do they want to defend Lecky or do they want to defend Ray? Oftentimes it's just, you know, the pressure is too much to be able to handle. But with them baiting out a lot of Nemesis's Unite moves, if they can hold on and defend this Regieleki, as they should have some shorter respawn timers, there might still be an avenue for them back in the game, as Yeet's going to score another Hundo Burger on the bottom side of the map. It's looking rough. It's looking bleak. And, you know, the odds of them being able to make a comeback here aren't high. You see this Metagross Unite move does connect onto Yeet, but he's got that, you know, that dive with that blue buff and level 15, so he should be able to get away from that. They're defending this Regieleki on home. Rex does have that Rings Unbound as well if he wants to move his team to push with that. But as time is, you know, ticking down and Captain Mayo still very, very underleveled, this game is getting out of reach. And, you know, it's a well-fought series. Game 1 for sure. We saw Captain Mayo definitely stay in the game and be very, very close to Nemesis. This game, though, Nemesis, you know, just turned up the gears. They turned it up to 11, showed us why they are one of the best teams in North America, in the West, potentially even the world. As we see Captain Mayo looking for one final hurrah, as Yeet Fan is ready with that Cramorant Unite move, jumps over the wall, and this pressure might just be too much, buying them some time here with only 40 seconds left to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the fact that Captain Mia and friends are actually trying to take the teams down or trying to take these players down, but that Hooper is just keeping everyone alive. And they are going to be just dunking into this final base because that's all they need to do at this point. They've literally forced the teams into the goals, and it looks like they are not going to be able to, well, do anything at this point. This point lead is just going to be going in 778 to 40 at this point. And we have our winners for the first round, with Captain Mayo heading into the loser brackets to try and claw back, if they can, the long way round.
Yeah, Captain Mayo, definitely a team to watch out for in that lower bracket. But Nemesis, they're showing up to work. This is what's expected of them. And, well played game by Nemesis, especially in game number 2, as they advance to the upper bracket where, they'll definitely have some more opponents they're used to facing off coming up very soon.
Yeah, and Trainer with 18 kills in this game, which has been, it's literally what we've been seeing with his dancing, or with his Unite, with his Razor Leaves. He does play that so well as well, and I do feel like this team had a lot of fun playing in the enemy jungle during this match as well. Wow, we've got 105,000 and 102,000 on the Cram as well. That was amazing play. As we start prepping for the next match, we are going to be heading into a quick break. And Inda, you're going to be joined by one of my casting favorites from the UK right now, who's up and coming, and he's excited to cast with you. He is none other than Spartan Tanner. So after this break, we are going to be bringing him in to cast with you in the next game. And yeah, I'm hoping to see some more exciting play from the teams here. But we have just seen why a Worlds team is called a Worlds team and why they are heading to Worlds. We'll catch you after the break.
But look at this right now. The question is, are they going to be able to get away? No, they're not. It is going to be a 4-down man. Even the side of Nightmare.
Alrighty, welcome back, everybody. We are getting set up for this next game. I'm Spartan Tano. I'm here casting with the one, the only Inda. What a game that previous game was, Inda, right?
Yeah, we got to see Nemesis really show why they are one of the best there. Flexing some of their comfort picks as well. So we'll see if they do have a team that's able to contest them later on in the bracket. But now we've got none other than Orange Juicers going up against Paragon. Orange Juicers being, your NAIC 2024 champions. So definitely going to have another great set of teams to watch here.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Orange Juicers, but as well, chat, we'll try and give you a bit of an update with what's been going on in the bracket off stream. So, Sucréosucre managed to 2-0 Ignorance there. Really, really strong showing from them. They've moved on to the next round. Rework Respawn getting a 2-0 against Patati Stack there as well. And of course, over on the Unite Battle Hub stream, we had Nouns Esport getting a 2-0 over Ebao there. So, really strong games that have been happening in this so far. I'm excited to see how Orange Juicers do. Is there any sort of insight that you think is going to happen in this game coming up in there?
Well, what's funny is Orange Juicers actually were matched up against Paragon in the regionals group stage, the qualifiers essentially, to get to NAIC, which we saw them obviously end up winning. And Paragon was able to win game number 1 in their set about a month and a half ago versus Orange Juicers. Now, the roster for Paragon, I think, has changed up a little bit. Orange Juicers have been able to find their footing a little bit more. They have all that experience coming from New Orleans, where they're able to win that in-person event. But Paragon's, no shy to being able to take games off big name teams. So should be definitely a very exciting match that we got ready here.
That's the joy of this tournament that we're seeing here, chat. The INGAGE Master Series. You have these grassroots teams giving it their all against these pro teams that they're coming up to. They have played plenty of games throughout the weeks leading up to this. We've had ladder rounds, we've had group stages, we've had open qualifiers, and it is all ending with this here. So if you're on YouTube, hit that sub button. If you're on Twitch, hit that follow button. All of the action will be happening on the INGAGE Master Series. And as we go into this next game in there, it's going to be exciting to see what they ban here. Umbreon ban off the bat. I mean, it's completely understandable, right?
Yeah, Umbreon definitely one of those really annoying defenders. Interesting to see Orange Juicers, I believe, elect for that second pick, unless they might have been defaulted to that second pick. Normally you see the higher seeded team choose that first pick just to have priority there. But we do see Orange team actually doing a targeted ban. Looks like Glaceon. I do believe that there was some Glaceon gameplay when the last time these two teams faced off. So not surprising to see, 3 evolutions immediately banned out with only 2 left to be able to be pickable in this draft phase here.
Yeah, and then we see the Phalanx, the Beyblade getting locked in from the get-go from Paragon there. Really strong mon in the moment, but picking it first opens you up to some possible counter picks, right?
That's right. There are some counter picks, Phalanx, a new Pokemon. Each one of those followers' bodies does count as an individual unit. So, we'll often see lots of Pokemon that can heal off of it. Lucarios can extreme speed off of and reset off of each one. Giga Drain Venusaurs and the like. And there's a lot of interesting counter picks available. But what we saw at the last international event at NAIC was, despite all those counter picks available, Phalanx is just too powerful of a Pokemon. And if you lock yourself into one of those counter picks, you do leave your team susceptible, perhaps on the other end of the draft there. So we'll see if the Orange Juicers even want to address the Phalanx, or if they're more interested in their own gameplay, as we see them locking in the Zoro Comfey. This is a little uncharacteristic of them. Comfey, a Pokemon that I don't think they've picked even once on an official UCS game as of yet. But I do know it's something that they've been practicing. Machisel had a very dominant Zoroark performance when he was on Alter Ego earlier this year. So he's no stranger to the Pokemon, and exciting to see if we can have a pop-off moment from him there. Paragon gonna lock down that Tyranitar, which we saw Nemesis pick earlier today as well. Just that late game dominating Pokemon. It did get nerfed in the most recent balance update, so not as tanky anymore, and it did receive some damage off of its Stone Edge build and on its Unite move. So it will be definitely interesting to see how it shapes up. With Orange Team going with a bit of an unconventional draft here, where they went with Mime as their last pick. So this means that they're going to be playing Mime in more of a damage-oriented build, and looks like they're going to swap off the Comfey to Kratos, where Roland is normally their support player. Roland's normally the support player. Kratos is normally the jungler. But with Machisel taking up the Zoroark, they're going to do a whole flip. Interesting, Orange Juicers using this first tournament that they've played in after the new balance update to really try things out. And we'll see if their experiment can be a success here.
Yeah, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head there, though, Indo, right? You've got a sort of comp on Orange Juices that is really strong in the early game, whereas on the side of Paragon, we have that T-Tar, we have that Failing, so you've got a little bit more of at the late game. They really want to get that T-Tar cooking, so they kind of just need to make sure that they don't lose the game in the early game too much, Paragon, right?
Yeah, that's right. If Paragon can hold down their pads, which is looking like they have the composition for it. Hoopa gives you that mobility across the map with those hyperspace holes, and Trevenant, definitely a Pokemon that's very hard to remove. If they can hold down those pads and get this Tyranitar online early enough, they can definitely be very, very scary in the late game. But Orange Juicers, they've got the early game tools to take advantage of it. We'll just have to see how the Zoroark Comfey is able to get underway here. As we see the Espeon doing a bit of a jungle split, giving that Phalanx the red buff on the top side of the map that they can use to pressure this 3-man top side, and Espeon immediately getting that level 4 on that bottom side of the map. Roland not able to really get any farm over here, but this does set up a trap where Machisel is able to get going, and he picks up that first KO on Phalanx.
Wow, yeah, that just shows the power of the Zoroark and the Comfey. The thing is, that's going to be coming out of the jungle at that time. You need to be a bit more prepared for that coming in. So they're able to score quite a few points up there, but we do see the Machisel going down to the 850 birds that are going to be spawning in this bottom lane. They've dropped that aggression in the top lane. They come down, they secure so many birds down there, but are they going to be able to do much? Because this Espeon is going to try and count as much as they can, but there's so many people down here, and they're going to be able to put this aggression on. Will they pick up the berry? The Phantom does manage to grab it. This Zoroark is getting so low, but no, the Comfey's there to pop onto them, give them the healing. They do secure the Zoroark there, but it is still 3v1 on this Espeon. They are doing one hell of a job to defend this goal, but with so much scores going in there, they are going to be able to get themselves out as well.
Yeah, as we see the Espeon finally go down here as well. And I think Orange Juicers just kind of getting accustomed to some of these role swaps that they did. Kratos normally is their jungler, Roland usually on that support like I mentioned earlier. And we did see a bit of miscommunication where that Zoroark went for that dive. They didn't have their Comfey on them. Normally, these two partner Pokemon, they want to be together. As we see an unprecedented Zoroark final hit off of Feint Attack follows the Hoopa through the hyperspace portal as Machisel goes flying to the base. Theoretically, this is something that can happen, but I've literally never seen this happen before. And I've played, thousands of games of Hoopa, tens of thousands of games of Pokemon Unite, watched tens of thousands of games. I've never seen this happen before. So I don't think Machisel was really ready for what happened there, but thankfully he had his partner Pokemon to keep him safe.
I mean, if it's going to happen, it happens in the tournament, right? That was really crazy to see. Yeah, good job that the Comfey was there. But we do see the Sylveon Hyper Voice just being able to rip so much damage off the Phalanx there. But it is quite strong. They do break the T1, do Orange Juicers there. It's 121 to 27 points. So that XP has been opened up for the T-Tar there in this. So they're going to be able to grab that as much as they can. They want to get that T-Tar online. They're not really going to be involved in any fights until that is. So what do they do with these objectives that have just spawned?
Yeah, so that pad break does give T-Tar some experience, like you mentioned, but it does open up that central area for Orange Juicers. They get to take, whichever objective they choose to. Looks like they're going to go for this bottom one as Machisel forces out that eject button from the Espeon. Unite move does pick up that KO as well. And if they can pick up another couple KOs here as their team's doing the bottom objective, they can continue to apply a lot of pressure as needed into this Tyranitar.
Yeah, and it seems like Orange Juicers just do not want to give up here. They've got the damage coming in for them. They just cannot survive with this Zorak Comfy going in and doing so much damage. We see the Unite move coming out from the Espeon to try and gather some space. Beyblade starts ripping onto Orange Juicers there. They weren't able to pick up any KOs, and unfortunately it looks like they're going to go down there. Phalanx doing so much damage onto Zorak. Zorak does go down there because they don't have the Comfy there to give them that extra healing, but they've managed to secure the objective. They've broken that T1 down there. They've got a lot of XP themselves, and they also grab the buffs while we have a little bit of a rotation coming in.
Yeah, Machisel definitely, looking really strong on the Zoroark. We see his movement is very fluid there, despite being a Pokemon we haven't seen him play very much recently. A little bit of miscommunication again with their Comfy as they got a little bit detached. As long as they can stay together, it will be really hard for the side of Paragon to be able to bring down this Comfy Zora combination, as we do see this Tyranitar is now online and be able to get some damage into Zugrug, who's going to be forced down as Orange Juicers is taking the top Regieleki at the same time.
Yeah, now we have this T-Tar online. They really need to try and take as much advantage of it as they can. As we do see the dive in there with the Sand Tomb. They managed to pick up the KO there. Mime is going to have to try and back out. This Lecky is going to go into the T2, though, by the looks of it. That's going to be some good scores that they can try and get in if they wish to. Zorak is just going to have to back out of a Trevenant and a T-Tar, because that is a lot of damage they can pop. Mime popping their Unite move as well. It seems like Machisel wants to try and go score some points in this goal. Just keep that aggression on, keep those scores going in. Are they going to be able to get out? The Espeon Unite is enough to catch them, and Comfey cannot survive on their own against 5 of the side of Paragon there.
Yeah, definitely tough to be able to make it out alive there, but that point lead is going to be important into this Tyranitar. Flareon's doing a great job holding down this top path on that Hyper Voice. We're going to see Zugrug find that Unite move on that Slow Beam, trying to bring down this T-Tar, but there was no Hyperspace Hole or Hyper Voice to follow up on that. Machisel getting quite low. They don't have their Comfy, as we see Kratos is trying to chase him down, trying to get reattached that partner Pokemon. Finally able to get a couple KOs, and they're able to hold on this top pad. So Orange Juicers, dominant as they should be, given that they've got the early game advantage. Paragon doing a good job fighting back, though. That Espeon Unite move able to pick up those KOs. They're staying in the game a little bit experience-wise, but the points are starting to get out of reach for them.
Yeah, and it's really important that they don't lose that point lead, because with the Rayquaza, it's going to be very difficult. They will have to be in a situation where they have to win the fight and go for the Rayquaza if they're not able to get any back up. So they need to be really careful not to be outscored too much here, but that is why Orange Juicers are doing such a good job of trying to get those points in. They know that situation. We do see the aggression still coming into this this jungle here. They're able to just grab whatever XP they can. They pick up the Trevenant there. They're going to go for the Phalanx, a nice Phalanx Unite popping out here. They've got the Beyblade. It is 3 minutes though, but they do manage to drop a lot of damage. Sylveon picking up the Phalanx there, and the T-Tar goes down to the Zorak Comfy as well. It seems like Orange Juicers are on the aggression here. Back foot for Paragon, but they are spawning back down into this T2. They're going to need to retreat at Orange Juicers at the moment, but they just seem to be able to want to put the pressure down here in there, while that Lecky is just sitting up there in that top lane waiting for anybody to show to it.
Yeah, Orange Juicers, they wanted to delay this Regieleki so they can have a pin, almost checkmate situation. Have that Regieleki pushing when Rayquaza's up, to be able to give them the priority on both sides. As we see Machisel continuing to put the pressure on, a little bit disconnected from his partner Pokemon, but Kratos hopping into that tall grass to get some extra healing. Zugrug does get Horn Leeched away on that Sobro. He's got the Amnesia to try to keep him alive, as we see a Hyperspace Hole able to get them away. Slow Beam on the side of Zugrug, taking down that T-Tar, trying to bring him down. We're going to see both of these teams start to pop off some of their Unite moves, trying to take this fight at a time, as Orange Juicers did lose that Regieleki Spartan, as this Ray fight's getting underway here.
Yeah, and it seems like we're already losing Mons in this current raid fight. We've lost the slow row. We do see the Unite move popping out from the Espeon there. They are able to take down the Trevenant. That's a lot of defense that Paragon no longer have in this fight. The Hoopers rotated to the middle, the central area. We do see the Comfey on the Sylveon. Zorak is just coming in. They're going to start poking this Rayquaza at the moment. It is going to be anyone's game. T-Tag going for the rip. They've decided that they just want to try and rip this. We have the Beyblade letting it rip on the Rayquaza themselves. It is the Beyblade that managed to secure the Rayquaza, but now they need to go get their points in, right? And this is the difficulty of having T1s up this late into the game, right, Inder, because they are easy hundo burgers that they can score from that point.
Yeah, Orange Juicers did have the point priority, but points are nothing in the face of a Rayquaza capture, as we're going to see T1s, T2s, and some scores go on the home base as well. And Phalanx, one of these new Pokemon, actually can, it's got that special. Normally we've got the Hundo burgers, but Phalanx has that one Hundo 20 burger, able to pocket an extra 10 AOS energy multiplied by 2 in the final stretch here. And the game's not quite over yet. Orange Juicers do have another 45 seconds. They've got a pair of Unite moves, 3 Unite moves, Slow Beam. They've got Showtime on Mr. Mime. So they've got all the tools that they need to make a siege happen here. If they can take down this tree off that Slow Beam, that'll be a good start. But tree with a Ray Shield on the T2 pad is extremely hard to take down, as this siege is going to come to an end with Machisel coming down, and that Rings Unbound on the side of the Hoopa as well, providing some additional layer of defense. And, we did mention earlier when we were talking about these teams that Paragon, no team that isn't shy from the big moments here, as they're able to take a game off Orange Juicers, similar to what they did back in May when these teams fought off in the regional group stage as well. So I'm not worried for the Orange Juicers. I know they'll be able to bounce back from this, but taking a game 1 loss, definitely momentum swinging high for Paragon.
Yeah, 100%. It's like you say that this is Pokemon Unite, and when you don't have too much of a score lead, if you are still 300 points between each other when you come into that Rayquaza fight, it is all going to come down to that Rayquaza fight. And it was a fantastic fight from Paragon there. They decided to go for the rip at the right time. And as we have a look at these stats here, where the Espeon 113k damage, that was really strong from them. They were popping off some really good Unite moves, trying to buy some space against Orange Juicers there. It seemed as though Machisel did a really, really good job on that Zorak, but there were little parts where Comfey wasn't quite on the Zorak at the right times, and they got caught out just a little bit at those times as well, Linda. So, as you say, I think it is just a matter of keeping that mindset of, so we lost the first game, but we are going to come into this swinging in this next one.
Yeah, not worried at all for the Orange Juicers. And, there were some moments where there were disconnects between the Zoroark and the Comfey, and all of that's going to come with time. Like I said, Orange Juicers, to my knowledge, have not played very much of any Comfey strategy in any UCS tournaments. So them using this as a bit of a practice ground, to kind of get accustomed. You do need a lot of games. You need to be able to have that synergy with your partner Pokemon there. And I'm very certain that they'll be able to build that. Even if they need to build it within this set, within this tournament itself, they'll be able to bounce back. But kudos to Paragon, that 113k damage on that Espeon, Pokemon that we've seen fall off a little bit after it received some stored power nerfs a little bit ago, showing that this Pokemon is definitely really powerful. They had that really good moment defending those bottom tier 1 in that 2v3 situation, picked up some KOs defending their top pad as well. So we'll see if Orange Juicers want to make some adjustments around that or not.
Yeah, I mean, coming into this next game, do you go with the same tactic? I feel like you said, it does take practice on the Zorak and the Comfey, and considering that they haven't had much practice on it, it did work quite well for them. Do you think that they changed their tactic? And same with Paragon, do you think they changed their tactic, different bans or anything like that, or do we just do much more of the same?
Yeah, I think if Paragon can get Phalanx again, they're probably going to go for it. Phalanx is a Pokemon that we saw in the Nemesis set be banned out in both of the games. If they're able to get a similar type of draft, I'm sure Paragon will go for it. But I am expecting Orange Juicers to make some adjustments to not be able to give Pokemon like that Phalanx and Tyranitar away. The Comfey, on the other hand, the Zoroark especially, Machisel was looking really strong on it. You know, even funny, we saw him fly to the enemy base, which I've never seen before. But yeah, he was looking good on it. If they want to go for it again, I think they absolutely should. And you know, sometimes these games can just slip away in the final moments. Let's not forget, Orange Juicers had a 300-point lead. They were looking strong most of that game, and it just, you know, games can fall apart in the last 2 minutes to the best teams in the world, and Orange Juicers is absolutely one of those teams. In moments like that, sometimes you just have to tell your team, hey, we did everything good except for the last 2 minutes. Let's not shake up our draft too much. Run a little bit of the same, and this time we won't troll in that final stretch.
That's it, isn't it? You have an amazing game for 8 minutes, and then it just happens when you come down to that Rayquaza fight that maybe one person manages to pick up, you know, a really good engage and gets 2 KOs off the bat or something like that. That is Pokemon Unite. You have that Phalanx popping up with their Beyblade Unite. They're able to drop a lot of damage. It's just the way that this game rolls. So I think you're 100% right. I think Orange Juicers should just go for it again. But we are literally about to find out here. It's going to be interesting to see if they go for the typical bans of those evolutions. Not a lot of teams like to go up against those evolutions.
Yeah, you know, we saw 3 of the evolutions banned out last game, and the 2 that were available to pick, that Espeon and Sylveon, made it in the draft, and both players had a dominant performance. We talked a lot about the Espeon, but Flareon's was looking solid on that Hyper Voice Sylveon. He had really good positioning, picked up almost 90k damage himself as well. And yeah, evolutions have defined the Pokemon Unite metagame for quite a while now, as we're going to see a handful of them banned away. Orange Juicer is going to make an adjustment to get rid of this Tyranitar. Paragon, the team, kind of forced into banning away Phalanx because they're the second pick now, which means that Orange Juicers gets to first pick whatever they want that's left in the lot, and we're going to see them go with that Blaziken, change things up, and not surprised to see a pair of evolutions on the other side.
Yeah, they're all getting selected there. I do like the Blaziken pick. It's obviously had some recent buffs. I did feel like it was slightly going under the radar previously anyway because of how strong mons such as Phalanx and T-Tar were. So I quite like the way it is in this meta. It's going to be a difficult mon for Paragon to deal with, but we do see Zugrug locking in that Trevenant and also the Blissey there. So they have some pretty good frontline already on the side of Orange Juicers there.
Yeah, Orange Juicers looks like they, you know, the Comfy experiment is something that they're going to take back to the lab and maybe revisit at another time. This time they're electing for a much more standard draft. They did have the opportunity to pick away that Cramorant, which is what I thought they were going to go with, but they did leave that up. So now Paragon able to take that Cramorant away, which does thin out the pool of attackers available. Flareon's going to lock down that Chandelure here. See Machizel hovering the Ceruledge, brand new Pokemon. Have not seen it yet in a tournament setting. It would be interesting to see him if he were to pick it. If I have to imagine Machizel's hovering it and he's like, guys, can I pick it? And probably got a little bit too much resistance from the team. And he goes to something he's a little bit more familiar with on that Garchomp.
Yeah, Garchomp having some really good buffs to a lot of its set in the recent patch balance as well. So I'm excited to see that. But one thing that I will say is I do feel like the Chandelure is slightly going under the radar as an attacker. I feel like it is quite strong in the meta at the moment. That Flamethrower with literally just a 2-second cooldown, if you manage to hit it, you can do a lot of damage on that mon, right?
Yeah, Flamethrower, definitely a very scary build if you can get those resets. This is what might be a tough game to be able to make use of that Flamethrower. Cramorant's got that dive. You know, Mystical Fire likely we'll see from the Sylveon can hop around and avoid that. Foul Play Umbreon can really get up under your nose. And, you know, you have to stay a good distance away to get those Flamethrower resets. But whether it's Flamethrower or Overheat, I do agree with you that the Pokemon might be going under their radar a little bit. Imprison, especially in such a heavy all-rounder and melee kind of meta, can be really troublesome for some Pokemon to deal with that move lock. And, you know, the attacker pool is difficult to work with. You know, usually it goes over to an Evolution or a Cramorant. So that might be one of the reasons why this Pokemon goes a little underpicked. But excited to see what Flareons can make use of it today.
100%. If anyone's going to be able to cook on it, it's going to be Flareons. But as we come into this game here, it's going to be interesting to see who they put into that middle section. You could go the Garchomp, you could go the Chandelure, but they go for the Blaziken there. And is that just to try and get that Evo as soon as possible?
Yeah, either Garchomp or Blaziken would be fine to get level 5 off the bat. Garchomp a little bit better as just an early game Pokemon in that top path. So they're going to give Kratos that early game advantage so he can get level 5 and kind of pass the torch over to the Gible later on. As we see, you might see an invade here from the Sylveon, who was able to get level 4 out of their central area. Mystical Fire, as we were talking about. Going to apply some pressure to Kratos here. If he doesn't get some help, this blue buff is going to be very hard for him to be able to make use of.
Yeah, we see the Blissey coming down to try and give that assistance there, but this just shows why these evolutions are so strong, right? They're able to come in and get that evo so quick and do that invade. They don't manage to get the blue buff there, so we do get an evolution to that, an evo even to that Combusken, but they're just going to keep the aggression on in this bottom lane so far. Orange Juicers are able to grab some XP from the side of Paragon, but Combusken going quite weak there. The Sylveon is just everywhere all over this map at the moment. They're going to look for the weak ones that they can. They can try and go for this Litwit because it is quite weak at this level at the moment, and they've managed to secure that KO. 2 KOs coming in for Sylveon there, chat, and they've managed to get some points in as well.
Yeah, and we see a lot of the same happening on the top side of the map here as the Gible goes down. And, one of the reasons why Chandelure is a Pokemon that teams shy away from in draft is it adds another liability in the early game, right? If we look at Orange Juicers, all 3 of their damage healers are Pokemon that need to evolve at level 5. Whereas Paragon, they've got an evolution that's online at level 4. Cramorant, who's off the gate, has their maximum evolution and only scales even more as they get some experience. So their early game, very, very strong. Is Kratos able to pick up a surprise KO in the enemy central area, and beautiful Woodhammer from Zagrag to be able to keep his teammate alive. If Kratos can get away with this KO and the blue buff, that'd be great, but I'm sure he's just happy with what he was able to achieve there, as we finally see some of these members on Orange Juicers reach their next stage of evolutions.
Yeah, and it seems like at the moment we have a battle between the Gabite and the Metagross trying to get those Evos as soon as possible. It does seem like the Metagross is slightly having the advantage here, so it's going to be important for Orange Juicers here to make sure that they don't, like previously with Paragon, they don't lose too much whilst they get that Garchomp online, but it is a very close game coming into these 720 birds anyway. We do see a huge jump in from Paragon there. 4 months up on that top lane. They managed to secure the Blissey. The Gabite's just going to have to back up. They break that goal, but that does open the rest of that XP for Gabite to be able to secure there.
Yeah, Orange Juicer is definitely a much more late game kind of comp. They are scaling, so they don't mind getting that experience. As we see Paragon do a nice rotation off that Hyperspace portal, able to take down both Zagrag and Kratos. They're going to try to push on this bottom path. Flareons is trying to stall out as much as he can with that flamethrower, but he's going to end up going down as well. Paragon going to leave this bottom pad up at 1. They don't want to give too much experience to Orange Juicers. As we see, Zagrag and Kratos, they are respawn here. Overheat's going to be channeling. Can they get the secure? Just a little bit off the mark. Paragon able to scoop it up on that Umbreon, as we're going to see Kratos fall once again here. An early game, definitely, Paragon's got the early game draft, and they're making very good use of it, as they are up both in experience and map-wide pressure here.
Yeah, Garchomp's going to rip this Lecky here. We do see the Sylveon and the Hooper trying to get up here as fast as they can, but it is a really rip. They are able to secure that. If that does go in, it does leave it on 5. They might be able to get an overcap, but it seems like they're just going to try and get some more. Oh, no, in fact, they're going in, chat. So I thought they were going to back up from that, but no, they've decided that they do want to put the pressure on. This Chandelure is doing a fantastic job to dodge there, but we see the Garchomp Unite move popping out. Are they going to be able to pick up the Cramorant on the Gatling gun? The Gatling gun doing so much damage there. They've managed to avoid getting KO'd from the Garchomp there. The Metagross has managed to pick up the Blissey, and they've done a really good job at getting some KOs of Paragon, but they have managed to break the goal of Orange Juicers. Are they going to be able to pick up the Metagross? It is running, but yes, they do. The Dragon Rush in. The Dragon Rush secures.
Yeah, that was a very interesting sequence. We saw Machisel not able to pick up that KO initially on that Cram, but finally able to at least get a consolation prize on that Metagross. Kratos does end up going down here in the bottom path, but I believe he was able to get his attack weight stacks up as well. Machisel, can he find the pick on that Cram? Still not able. That dive Cram is just a little bit too elusive. Too many jumps for the Dragon to really be able to deal with in one go. So, despite that sequence not looking too great for the side of Orange Juicers, they were able to get a lot of points in both sides of the map. Taking down these tier 1 pads into Hoopa is extremely important. So getting that Regieleki to walk in and crash, get those extra points in, was really good, as we only see a 3-point differential. Orange Juicers is back on the experience side, and they are the late game team composition. So if they can keep up experience for experience, that's a favorable spot for them to be in, as we see this bottom Registeel get started by the Orange Juicers.
Yeah, Hooper popping out the rings unbound. They do manage to secure that. Orange Juicers, a really good flamethrower coming in there to get that secure. It seems like Paragon were going to be able to secure that, but no. Garchomp also ripping down the Hooper there. Are they going to be able to pick up the Sylveon? They do, with the help of the Trevenant. As we saw, the amount of healing that you can get on a Garchomp when you are ripping like that is huge. Managed to keep them in that fight, secure that objective, and also secure those KOs. They decided to break the T1 there as well. They managed to pick up the Metagross. It seems like the pendulum is swinging to Orange Juicers with the aggression that they're pulling in here. It is 350. They do have that springboard, so scoring there is definitely something that they can try and do, but it is a risky move because they will be able to pop down. But Blissey giving some healing there, and a huge set of KOs coming in there for Garchomp. 4 KO streak from that there, and they are now level 14.
Yeah, KO streak of 4 from Machizel there, able to pick up some nice KOs, and is off the back of a really nice Bliss assistance from Roland to keep his partner alive there. So love to see that good support play, and they're able to use that momentum off of those KOs, break that bottom pad, give themselves a point lead here. And if they can get out of the enemy central area without too many KOs in retaliation, I think they should be quite happy. As we see Machizel Dragon Rush back in, he's hungry for more. He's not happy with the game 1 loss here, and he wants to make a mark that, you know, he is here and he is ready to Garchomp his way to a game 2 victory, so that they can get a game 3 here, as both of these teams going to go back, farm their respective areas, and we might see one final basement Reggie fight before Rayquaza.
Yeah, and that just shows, like, just within that past minute, the pendulum has swung to Orange Juicers here. We are now hitting into this late game section, and it is showing why they are so strong with this comp that they're currently running into. It does seem like Orange Juicers do want to have a look at this bottom Reggie that's going to be spawning. Maybe they're hoping it's something like a Registeel or a Rock. We will find out. It is a Reggie Rock. They have the rip there. Look how quick that rip comes in, chat. They have managed to secure that within a matter of seconds.
Yeah. They've got the damage for it between Garchomp, Blaziken, and that Chandelure here. As we're going to see Zugrug get some aggressive positioning alongside Machizel, trying to see if they can get here unobserved so that they can pick up a KO. As it is up to Paragon to be able to make something happen. Machizel's going to go for a blind Dragon Rush into the bush where there is a Cramorant already waiting, forced to use that Garchomp Unite move, couples it with an eject button over to jump over the wall. Not quite enough when it comes to that elusive Cram. Bliss Assistance forced out to use as well, as Machizel is continuing the pressure on this fight. Flareon's deep here as well, Spartan, as we see both of these teams trading blow for blow.
Yeah, and look at how much that Gatling missile has managed to pick up those KOs there. It does so much damage to Cramorant. They have managed to secure the 2, but they are not able to put some more pressure on it yet. We have a lot of zoning coming in from the Trevenant, as well as the Blaziken. Hooper rings unbalanced have popped out. They are managing to get the Mons back from the home base. Are they going to be able to pick up the Chandelure there? They do with the Umbreon. We do see that going down. Are they going to be able to pick up the Sylveon? They do. Blaziken manages to get the Sylveon. So right now we have 2 down from Paragon, 1 down from Orange Juicers. It seems like everyone just wants to continue this fight. Nobody is currently ripping. There is a lot of secure there. They want to try and get the Metagross. Metagross is so weak at the moment. Cramorant comes in to try and do the defense. We have the Hooper portal that's just going to send the most of Paragon home for them to be able to get some healing. They come back into this fight with so much healing. The Blissey is doing a fantastic job to keep Blaziken in this fight as well. Oh my god, Garchomp has come in and managed to pick up the Hooper. That is going to be huge for them there. We do see so much damage coming in right now, in that this is a never-ending Rayquaza fight. We may not even see the Rayquaza go here. There's 25 seconds left, chat. Are they going to be able to do anything here, Paragon? I don't think they're going to be able to. Orange Juicers has done a fantastic job to just keep this fight going, zone them out. We see the back cap coming in there for Trevenant. That is an 80 back cap going in there. The Cramorant trying to answer with their own Hundo Burger, but it's not going to be enough. 8 seconds left in this fight. They've managed to secure a 2 KO there for Garchomp. I am running out of words to say, because that was an incredible Rayquaza fight.
Yeah, we saw that fight go both ways for both of these teams, but in the late game, when you've got three of these late game damage Pokemon being piloted by some phenomenal players at the same time, it's just too much for Paragon to be able to do much of it. You know, Machisel goes in, picks up a couple of his KOs, he ends up going down, but that means that, you know, Kratos and Flareons have their time to shine. We saw Kratos find some amazing blaze kicks onto that Rayquaza wall, getting those stuns. And that damage was just too much for Paragon to get fully healthy and find a footing in that Ray fight, because they did need to take down that Rayquaza. Orange Juicers kept the momentum up on their side. And, you know, we saw much more of what we're used to seeing from them in game number 2 here. But there's still another game here. And this game wasn't exactly that clean for Orange Juicers. They had a shaky start. You know, their comp was a little bit harder to pilot in the early game with those scaling Pokemon. But I would say that, you know, it's not quite over for Paragon quite yet. You know, they're gonna go back now with first pick. It's gonna make Orange Juicers have to revisit a little bit of their draft strategy from earlier on. And we'll have to see if you know, Orange Juicers is able to adjust after game number 1 and close out the series as we're all expecting them to do.
Yeah, I mean, Paragon taking that first pick as well, Linda, means that they're going to try and go for the failings, right? They seem to really enjoy the failings, and it's going to be interesting to see whether Orange Juicers decide to go for the ban for it, because they didn't in the first game. But it's almost as if Orange Juicers went with Paragon's comp of a bit more of a late game there, right? And it really paid off for them.
It did pay off for them, and I think that Blissey really helped round things off. Game number 1, we saw them do some role swaps. Roland was on that kind of damage mime. They had a Comfey, which is something a little uncharacteristic for them. The Blissey really suited Machisel's Garchomp really well. Machisel very used to, you know, diving into that backline and having that Bliss assistance to back him up. So that late game composition, I think, really only works if they've got a strong healer like that Blissey. If they're, you know, if Paragon's able to remove that from the side of Orange Juicers, we'll see if they want, you know, how Orange Juicers can adapt in the draft, depending on, you know, what's available after those bans.
Yeah, really, really strong. I mean, this is why this Master Series is so much fun to not only watch, but cast as well, chat, because here we go. We have two amazing teams. Orange Juicers, they were the winners of NIC, right? So really, really strong team. And then Paragon putting up one hell of a fight against them as well. So you don't get this anywhere else. Grassroots versus these pro teams. It's a fantastic battle that we see here. So if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you are on Twitch, hit that follow button for all of the action that is happening here. And it's going to be exciting to see what this game 3 situation drops, because a game 3, for me personally, for when I've played, the mindset is what starts to come in, right? And you're going into a game 3 situation. You know, this is it. It is the be all or end all. You need to get this win.
Yeah, and that's where the experience on the side of Orange Juicers, they can really lean into it. You know, they just coming off of NAIC had to go through a bracket reset in a grand finals on stage. So something like this, where they're playing in the comfort of their homes, first game 3 of the day, I think they should pretty much go unfazed as we see them. You know, they're on the second pick this time. They're going to remove that Tyranitar. They don't want any chance of them having to deal with that in the late game this time around on the side of Paragon. And Paragon, you know, they're making some adjustments too. So it's good to see both of these teams respond to each other's strengths very well. Orange Juicers getting rid of that Tyranitar. Paragon had enough of Kratos' Blaziken from last game, so they're going to elect to remove that. And this is what I was expecting Orange Juicers to get rid of that failing. So these are two Pokemon we saw in game number 1. Paragon used very well to pilot a game number 1 win. And we'll see how they're able to adjust in this game number 3 situation.
Yeah, I mean, those bans there does mean that Paragon do secure their Leafeon. So early game, very, very strong for the Leafeon there. It's going to be interesting to see how they want to answer that. We are going to possibly see, no, we don't. We see the Blissey. I thought we were going to have a Sableye there, and I was getting a little bit excited, but Zugrug locking in that Slowbro there as well.
Yeah, Blissey obviously, you know, was a cornerstone to their draft in the last game. And Zugrug on the Slowbro, making use of the most recent buffs that we saw, both Surf receiving a cooldown buff, as well as Scald receiving a buff to the attack percentage reduction that it's able to apply. Meaning that if Paragon wants to select some attack-based characters that use that attack stat, they are going to struggle into the Slowbro. And Slowbro Blissey, a combination as old as Pokemon Unite, essentially. Two of these pink blobs that are able to hold down pads and create these really insurmountable kind of defenses. And couple that with some late game scaling Pokemon, as we saw in the last game. This time Orange Juicer is going to use Mimikyu instead of that Blaziken. But they're doing a draft that's very similar to their last game where they were able to find that success.
Yeah, when the last game went so well, it makes perfect sense to try and copy that. The Garchomp getting locked in there. We see the Metagross and a Mamoswine coming up for Paragon there. I don't see a great deal of Mamoswine. We saw it quite a lot in the Japan region in the recent Unity Clash battles as well. So what do you think of that one there, Inder?
Yeah, Mamoswine, definitely a Pokemon when the tank pool gets a little bit stretched. You see an Umbreon get picked away, Slowbro picked, banned away on the Umbreon, picked on the Slowbro. Mamo's definitely a Pokemon you can reach into the bag if you have it. And it does fairly well into these melee Pokemon, able to apply those freezes and set up these Ice Fang engages, peel for your team as well. It's a Pokemon that is high risk but high reward. If you can do well in that Swine Up stage and scale into a Mamoswine early, you're going to be looking very good. On the other hand, we've seen, Pokemon that get stuck in their evolution phase, and oftentimes they might be stuck as that Pillow level 8, going deeper and deeper into the game. So we'll see if the gamble can pay off for Paragon, as we see Flareon select the Mew this time. They're on that Chandelure last game, looking really good on that Chandelure, but exciting to see him on Mew, such an exciting Pokemon to watch. And interesting to note, I don't know if Machizzle had it on last game, but this game he's got the Drain Crown on. Uncharacteristic item, not one that I think sees a lot of competitive play, but maybe just something that he likes to have that extra healing, keep him alive a little bit longer. I'm not sure if I'm a fan. Something I might bring up to Machizzle in the future, but we'll see. Maybe Drain Crown can get its first tournament win, or one of its first tournament wins here in game number 3 between Paragon and Orange Juicers.
Yeah, and we see the Leafeon just going straight into the jungle there. Are they going to secure all of it? Will they share it? We will find out, but that is going to be a really strong mon from the get-go. We also see the Mimikyu trying to do the same, but here in this bottom lane, so you have a Swinub and you have a Mew as well that are really strong laners to begin with. It's going to be interesting to see how that lane goes, but they are sharing the jungle here, and they're going to get the Cramorant to try and get their levels as quick as possible as well.
Yeah, a bit of a jungle split. Not surprising to see the Leafeon take that red buff and potentially even invade on the other side. Cramorant Pokemon you don't normally see engage in this jungle split just because they're so strong in their own path as well. As we do see Leafeon able to deny some farm away from the Mimikyu. But what's really good is that the Orange Juicers were playing aggressive on the bottom side. And the experience that Kratos lost in his own central area, he's able to make up for by sharing in the bottom path. So he's still going to get his level 5. No experience essentially lost for him there, as the Orange Juicers still have an Indeedee here. That early game aggression really paying off, and both these teams are set up. I see Altaria go down instantly.
We're going to see Kratos trying to really concentrate on that Leafeon, right? They are on the Mimikyu. Yeah, I didn't see whether it was play rough or not. I don't know if you did, but it seems like they're going to try and concentrate on making sure that Leafeon cannot cook. We do see the Gabite managing to do quite a bit to get some XP there. There we go. Mimikyu coming in. It is play rough. They do manage to secure the Metagross there. Leafeon's going to have to back out. They want to keep the aggression on here, do Orange Juicers. They are capable of doing so. Gabite bringing whatever XP they can. Leafeon with a really good jump into Gabite there, getting that secure. It is the Blissey trying to get a stack in here just to keep itself alive. They need to try and retreat out of this, but Kratos going down with the Leafeon. That does give the evolution over to the side of Paragon there.
Yeah, going for that siege afterwards is definitely risky. If the enemy jungler is on their game, they will, instead of normally going back and just passively taking their central area buffs, they're on their game, they'll come back for a regank, which is exactly what we saw that Leafeon do. So well played by them. And another pick by the Mamoswine. Ice Fang is the move of choice here on Flareons as well. So Orange Juicer is systematically losing, 4 KOs in the span of just a minute over here as the pendulum swings back towards Paragon.
Yeah, it's going to be really important to try and do something about this Leafeon, because it is just going to cause chaos in the back lines. It's going to cause chaos in each of the lanes that it can, but it does weaken out down into the late game. So they just need to stay into this, do whatever they can. The Gabite is really concentrating on trying to get that evolution for them there, because if they are still in this game, when that Garchomp gets cooking, that will be the difference. We do see, a really nice ankle breaking coming in there from Kratos, but they do manage to secure them, just a little bit too weak. Slowbro is going to have to defend this pad against Free, but Mew is down here to give some backup as well.
Yeah, so, Orange Juicers, they're kind of looking like they did a little bit in game number 2, where they've got the late game composition. They just kind of need to scale themselves there. Did give up a couple unfortunate KOs, but, there's still enough farm on the map for them to be able to make a comeback here. So there's not much that they need to worry about, as we see an Emerald 2-step from this Leafeon in the enemy central area. Not able to actually pick up a KO, and does end up going down. Nice Unite move by Kratos to pick up this Metagross as well. And this might be the start of the comeback that the Orange Juices needed to get themselves back in the game here. They can get that Shadow Sneak onto the Mammoth, he does, gets that reset. Got another Shadow Sneak available, not quite able to connect on that Hoopa, but they finally get this pad break, and this is all the space that Orange Juicers needed to be able to mount the comeback. The points are back in their favor, experience is looking good once again, and now they have the space to be able to try to make use of some of their more late game Pokemon.
Yeah. Oh my god, Bliss Assistance coming in there to save the Garchomp. The Garchomp pops out their own Unite move. Cramorant trying to do the same in return. We see the Stadium possibly going up from the Metagross. It doesn't be able to do so. Garchomp is going to go down here. Some really good secures from Paragon, but I love the aggression from Orange Juicers there. They've managed to grab quite a bit of XP. They managed to get some KOs themselves. And Garchomp now at level 10 alongside that Mimikyu. The levels are actually quite even now.
Yeah, almost able to pick up a couple extra KOs in the enemy center area there as well. But Paragon were ready for that attack that Orange Juicers had for them. We'll see if these teams are able to get set up for this top Regieleki, or how both of these teams are going to be approaching. It looks like they do want to contest it. The score message goes up. They're informed that it's a close battle. Both teams just scouting each other out. Hyperspace Hole able to send back 3 members of Paragon, but Machisel is ready with that Dragon Rush onto that Hyperspace Hole, able to connect, bring down a couple members of Paragon really low, as that Swinub actually ended up going down as well in the process of all of that, and both these teams trying to set back up for this Regieleki fight.
Yeah, some really huge beams coming in from Flareons there as well. They were set up to come back through that portal, but the portal is providing so much healing for Paragon here, right? It's a really difficult thing. You get them weak and then they portal, but you kind of expect them to come back, so you can set up those damage moves coming in. But we do see some of them kind of poking this Lecky at the moment. The Garchomp is able to do some. We do see the slow beam coming out there. That's going to pick up the Hooper, I believe, with the assistance of the Garchomp, and they just seem to want to keep putting this aggression on. Machisel, another Blister assistance coming in to save Machisel on the Garchomp there. They are up the Flux Zone at the moment against the Cramorant and the Leafeon. They are able to get back to the goal. The Lecky is going to go in. Are they going to score enough points to get a good advantage? 35 points going in there, but it does seem like Paragon are going to try and clean up here. Some really strong Unite moves popping out, and they do manage to secure some good KOs from Orange Juicers there, with Slowbro running away with a little bit of health, although it is a Slowbro, so that health comes back quicker than you can blink.
Yeah, Orange Juicers, for every moment that they have where they're able to get back in the game, pick up some KOs, they just overstay their welcome a little bit. Paragon able to bait them back into that fight and collect some return KOs instead. So Paragon, despite being on the back foot here, they are able to stay within the game. They are behind in points by a bit, but experience looks relatively even, as there's one final Reggie steal here that will be the bottom side fight. But Kratos finds himself a Shadow Sneak, able to pick up the Mamoswine, and now the Hoopa as well, resetting and going to be able to get away from the danger there at the same time. So well played by him, and this time he does very wisely back off and doesn't overstay his welcome to give up that return KO.
It's kind of like a mindset thing, isn't it? Right? When you're doing so well and you feel really confident on the mon that you're playing, you do go in, and sometimes you do overstep a little bit. But it was really smart by them to retreat there. We do see the Leafeon up here in this lane. It seems as though they're just going to grab whatever XP is available. These mid-birds, nobody wants to give this to the other side. They want to poke at each of it. 20 seconds until this Rayquaza spawns. No one's going to be able to get the Lakey. It's not going to spawn in time for them to be able to do so. So we just see Orange Juices looking like they're going to get set up in an aggressive stance here at the Rayquaza.
Yeah, we see Machisel, poking and prodding his way on this Garchomp, trying to find any opening he can. Orange Juicers are ahead in points, so Paragon is going to be forced to try to find a play, and it's going to be tough. There's these Mew Beams, very well placed by Flareons, and Kratos, who's just able to get level 14. The game is going to be around his Shadow Sneaks and what he's able to find and set up for his team, as he finds a Shadow Sneak halfway across the map onto this Cram, couples it with that player off, but Cramorant running Focus Band, bit of an odd item. I don't think Kratos was expecting that Focus Band to proc there, as Bliss Assistance forced to use on Kratos. Going to couple that with his Unite move, take down that Leafeon, as Orange Juicers are cementing themselves in this enemy central area here.
Yeah, Gatling Missile coming out there from the Cramorant. They are able to drop a lot of XP, but Orange Juicers are still up. They're really healthy. They're just going to take a more defensive stance here at the Rayquaza. I mean, we saw that Mimikyu hitting that Shadow Sneak from a different postcode there, and that was crazy to see. But the Slow Beam popping down here. They are managing to pick up the Cramorant with the assistance of that Slow Beam, also managing to get some damage on the Mamoswine there. But we have the Emerald two-step coming back from the Leafeon, but it doesn't take down the Mimikyu. The Mimikyu has so much health, and the Blissey is managing to keep them really well healed up. We saw Machisel starting to rip the Rayquaza. They decided against it because of that Mamoswine coming in. We do see the Hooper Unite move, and in return, Garchomp popping their own on that portal that came out. They managed to secure the Hooper. It seems like everyone's just going to fight in this Rayquaza pit. Who's going to manage to get the secure? If it isn't anyone, it is the Machisel on the Garchomp there in the...
Yeah, Machisel doing a good job. He started that Rayquaza. I don't think he ever had the intention to take it down immediately. Did want to just force Paragon to funnel themselves into that center area, and that's where we saw them, make that claw back, as we saw Machisel jump on the enemy team, and it forced Paragon into the situation where they're running out of time. They have to look for a flip, running through all of Orange Juicers, as Orange Juicers able, after a bit of a shaky start, they're able to close out this series and advance themselves in this upper bracket here.
Yeah, I mean, a huge shout out to Paragon as well. They put up a really, really good fight in this entire set. Orange Juicers managing to get that Garchomp involved, get that up and running. It seems to be the recipe for success for them during this set, managing to get that 2-1 win there. Really, really strong from both sides. As we have a look at these stats at the moment, it seems like Kratos managed to get cooking as well as Machisel. So it was a bit of a tough one for Paragon to deal with.
Yeah, Kratos, able to find some amazing Shadow Sneaks and just keep himself going in that late game there. Couple key KOs that really brought the Orange Juicers back into this game when things were starting to look a little bit rough for them. And, this whole team, they have 3 solid damage players. They like to play a little bit greedier on these scaling Pokemon. So the early games are going to look a little bit scuffed for them, but they're able to close out that game, and they were looking solid.
Yeah, just a couple of updates that has been going on in the bracket off stream here for you, chat. So will we pass the first round? Did manage to pass the first round. They beat Brave Birders 2-1. So they've gone on into the next round there. Ebal managed to 2-0 Brave Birders in loser round 1 as well. So Brave Birders look like they are out for the day, but they put up one hell of a fight. Next round, we're going to be going into shortly. Nihao versus any squad over on the Unite Battle Hub stream, currently happening at the moment. But for now, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with you shortly. Get a drink, have a snack, go to the toilet. We will see you soon.
Look at this right now. The question is, are they going to be looking away? No, they're not. It is going to be a 4 down man hitting the side of Nightmare.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the next round of this Engage Master Series. We have seen some really strong fights coming into this so far. I mean, what have you seen recently, Nuggy, that you have really enjoyed?
Okay. 3.
Look,
2,
just the fact that we have these high caliber teams coming
Hello,
to
everybody,
play
and welcome
alongside
back
this
to the
off-season
next
event
round
is
of
just
this
amazing to
Engage
see. And just in the
Master
last match we
Series,
saw
we
with
have seen
Machizzle there,
really
just
strong
really
fights coming into this
running
so
it down
far.
with that guard chomp, which we don't normally see win a lot, is so refreshing to see. So that's my pick so far to see the highlights there. But as we move on here, we have another bout of two amazing teams going at it together here with Nemesis and Rework Respawn.
Running it down with that guard chomp.
Yeah, really big teams. This is going to be a really strong game coming in here. What do we have? We have the Cramorant, we have the Glaceon there, just going to grab that central zone. On the other side, we have the Glossy Flare coming in for an invasion here, Nuggy. You can see
Yeah, cheeky invade alongside Chansey though, giving that nice set of protection. But not only that, you can see a Eevee fighting alongside as well. Both of the supporters right now are just kind of battling it out while Slow Poke, you know, with that amazing skin, is really trying to disrupt the jungling farm from the Eevee and the rolls, as you can see right there. Now we are moving into a little bit of a central fight heading towards that top path as well between these teams, as it's just funny to see, Spartan, how many of these really low, you know, basic evolutionary Pokemon are still at play here.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising the Glossifer hasn't managed to get an Evo yet, right? It's usually that's quite quick for it, but it still has that capability of slowing you, right? So we do see Glaceon hitting their level 4, Blissey just trying to get into that level, that Evo as well. We see a nice battle going on for those mid-birds. It does seem like Rework Respawn managed to secure quite a few of those. Blissey's managed to get that Evo so far, Nuggy. So it's kind of an even game at the moment, but level-wise slightly going to the side of Nemesis right now.
Yeah, well, you know what? Both of these teams, they are just really strong contenders, and it's very scary to have the fact that on Nemesis side they do have that cram and that early potential to really crank it up so that they have time for Combusken to evolve into Blaziken to be kind of like their end game carry, while as we do have responses here, units such as Gibble going into Garchomp, that's going to be a much more of a difficult task to go online. So if Rework can kind of hold the fort there until that end game phase, then they will have a fighting chance. And this goes along the lines of Venusaur as well as their Curlier. They all have late game Pokemon, but they need to reach there and sustain as hard as they can and hold that fort until they get there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is a very heavy sort of late game selection they've gone with for Rework, whereas Nemesis seem to have more of that early crossed with it. You got the Blaziken, that is better, more sort of late game, but Cramorant and the Glaceon being there, that's very strong. Glaceon has just hit their next power spike there, Nugget, so they've got that level 6, meaning that they're going to be able to have that next move up and ready to go. That means they're going to be very strong, but we've only seen 13 points scored at the moment. We're going to see who decides to go for what. It seems like Rework Respawn are really concentrating on this bottom lane, whilst these birds in the bottom lane have spawned. But Nemesis seems to have sent free to the top lane, maybe to try and stop that Gibite from being able to get that evolution.
Yeah, this is just something that they're going to have to deal with right now. You can see that Nemesis is really trying to pile on the pressure. We are experiencing on a little bit of lag right now, guys. We are going to try and fix that ASAP for you guys. So we will try and maybe give this a pause as we go through. But so far from what we can see, that, you know, both of these teams, Nemesis and Rework Respawn, high caliber teams trying to just get it together going forward. But you know, we're gonna try and see if we can get that break. We're gonna take a break just to quickly try and fix the feed for you guys. And once we get up, hopefully you get to see, we will all get to see a great live picture as we move on to this. So we'll be back very soon, guys.
Right now, the question is, are they going to be able to get away? No, they're not. It is going to be a 4 down man into the side of Nightmare.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Now we have a different face, a familiar face coming back in here. My name is Nuggy D, and with me is Inder. Now, from the last game, sorry for the technical difficulties, but we do see that Rework Respawn managed to get a 2-0 game off Nemesis with these two powerhouse teams. Now, while we weren't able to catch a bit of it, luckily, Inder was able to catch a bit of that last game, Inder. So if you could give us just a quick breakdown of what happened in game 2 there.
Yeah, so Nemesis, they had a strong start to the game. Phalanx, Metallic was playing that Phalanx, Mon that we've seen him have a lot of success with, and just in general, it's been a very, very dominant pick. But Rework Respawn utilized that Alolan Ninetales, which has been in the back of everyone's minds as like a historical or a new Phalanx counter, able to apply that freeze immediately and just be really annoying with all that crowd control. And that worked to their benefit. They were able to, stay within the game. The game was quite close until it came to the Rayquaza fight, and just them using A9. I think they had a candle as well, so a double mage kind of comp, reminiscent to more last year UCS, bringing back a little bit old school strategies, and they're able to take down Nemesis. It was a close game, but Rework Respawn, we were talking about it before we got our way here. Latin America just looking like a really strong region this year and proving it today as well.
All right, awesome. Thank you for that, Indo. It'll be very interesting to see how they go as we progress. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, we do have Orange Juices back on the scene, going up against Sucréosucre. So this is a French team in the top 4 of EU as well in the ladder, and Orange Juices, of course, Indo, as you would know, the best is the NAIC current champs.
Yeah, Orange Juicers had a great showing at NAIC. They had a close match against Nemesis in the grand finals, but they were able to take that their way. They had a tough start today against Paragon, who Paragon actually advanced in the lower bracket, beating out Yala Bingo as well. So
Wow,
Paragon, one
yeah.
of the grassroots tournament teams, come into that open ladder, really showing that they're here to make their mark as well. As we do have the draft getting started between Orange Juicers and Sucréosucre here. Pretty standard stuff. Umbreon getting picked away, Trevenant and Blaziken. Interesting to note, Garchomp being banned out. I guess maybe a call out to Machisel. As, he was dominating with that earlier.
Yeah, we've seen quite a few Garchomps in this off season right now, and it's been, amazing to see. And like you said earlier, Orange Juices did have a bit of a shaky start against Paragon, but I think we saw when they were doing a little bit unorthodox with the Zoroark and Comfey, as we don't see them play that combo much. But I think this is a great time for Orange Juices just kind of want to mess around and see what type of composition they want to play and just kind of how they're going to fare into coming into Worlds in August.
That's right. They, it's a good chance for them to try things out, and excited to see them even continue to experiment going into this series, where we have Flareon's picking up the Delphox, Machisel on that Gyarados, 2 solid Pokemon that we might not see them pick all too often, and now we might see a Lapras pick.
I'm waiting. Just
Zagrug,
it's actually locked in. Okay.
Yeah, Zagrug last year was one of the main believers of Lapras when it was considered to be one of the strongest Pokemon initially. A lot of teams didn't have faith in it. It's been nerfed a lot since then, but he used it to not only win NAIC last year, me and him won that one together, but this year as well, he brought it back. So he's a big fan of this Pokemon, and it definitely puts in the work. I imagine we're going to see a swap there, as Roland's going to be playing more of a supporter Umbreon. A bit of a different role for that Pokemon, but definitely can work with that wish.
Yeah, and looking at Orange Juices now, they've got a bit of a task ahead of them. They do. Sucre do have a lot of secure potential with their composition right now. And but I would say, though, in a team fighting situation, I think OJ do have that advantage. They've got the protection, they've got the Lapras, and you know what? You're right. Lapras has been nerfed so much, but its kit is still extremely strong, and I'd love to see what Zagrug's going to be able to do here.
Yeah, I know we didn't get to see it on our broadcast here, but these drafts remind me a lot of the previous game that Nemesis just had into Rework Respawn, where one team has the Phalanx Blaziken and the other side's got a double mage comp. Last time In the previous game, it was A9 Candle. This game, we've got Delphox Gardevoir. But this is more reminiscent of Pokemon Unite in 2023, where teams were reliant more on the range characters. A lot of this meta is shaping up to be an all-rounder meta, which Sucréosucre is using this game, Nemesis used last game. In the last set, Nemesis weren't able to be successful with it, so we'll see if Sucréosucre are able to give Phalanx and Blaziken a better shot here.
Yeah, and we already see a little bit of the comp right now. At the top side, we had the Magikarp and the EV for Umbreon going to be going up against the Phalanx. Bottom lane, you do have the Phantom and the Bulbasaur, really being able to take that farm away from OJ right now. Bulbasaur able to narrowly escape there. Lapras, would you say, is kind of an advantage here? Would the Flail actually hit all of the members of the Phalanx, the minions that it has with him as well, to help build that gauge to become a Gyarados there?
I was actually wondering that mechanic yesterday, and I do think that you get some extra charge from the little Phalanx, but those little guys are considered, like, for a lot of mechanics, they're considered to be wild Pokemon, which interact a little bit differently for your effort gauge. So while, you know, you do get some good charge, it might not be the same as hitting an enemy Pokemon. I think teams are probably still figuring that out as we see both of these teams send their central area Pokemon topside.
No.
Magikarp goes down.
Yeah, great engage there from Sucre, just taking most of the farm. Magikarp trying to go in for a flail, but gets knocked out though. But we can see Roland in a little bit of trouble, manages to stay away from harm there, just trying to hold that tier 1 pad. And right now, in terms of favor and experience gain, Sucre is in the lead there. Magikarp, although almost getting to the Gyarados there, and we know that once he comes online, he's going to be able to bring that power spike in favor of OJ. But right now, Phalanx is doing what he can to deny Magikarp from evolving.
Yeah, and early game can be tough. The benchmark that I like to give Gyarados players is if you can get evolved by the central area Altaria at this 8-minute mark, you're in a good spot. Anything later can be a little troublesome. So this game, Orange Juicer is a little bit behind the mark. I know he's very, very close to building up that effort gauge, but if you have it in time for that central Altaria and you can contest those, it's a big experience swing that can go your way, as they are able to defend this top cap, and finally we see that Gyarados online.
Yes, he'll be able to hold that for a bit of a battle there. Umbreon managed to get rid of the Blaziken there, which is huge for OJ. They are moving through. Roland just narrowly escapes again. Luckily, Oni is not yet a Venusaur. Trevenant does get hung over by that Fire Spin, but now you can see that Sucre going in. Venusaur now online. Currently a 4 versus 4, as Blaziken has now rejoined the battle and is about to hit his level 8 spike.
Yeah, this bottom Reggie fight is going to be interesting. One thing we didn't call out is this Venusaur with the new and improved Sludge Bomb. This move received a lot of buffs in the last balance patches. You see, Flareon gets caught by it. The slow duration was doubled in duration. So now even if you get caught just for a second in that Sludge Bomb, it'll linger for a whole 2 seconds, which is more than enough to set up an overheat or a solar
almost
beam.
Down there. Great secure from both of those two right there. And yes, Sludge Bomb has had a significant buff, making it much more viable now, I would say, than the Giga Drain that it had before. And you can see Oni is now got his Unite ready to rock and roll. I would say OJ is going to have to be really careful here, since Venusaur is ready to pounce as they are moving towards the Reggie Alecki. And as we can see here, it's currently 4 versus 2, Indo.
Yeah, this Regieleki is a little bit tougher for Orange team to respond to, as they're a little slower to get here. They have enough damage that they might be able to hold on, as you see a big Verdant Anger from that Venusaur. Flareon's drop set Fancy Fireworks to try to hold, but Orange Juicers are struggling to keep up. They've got 3 members here, though, Nuggy, and I think they might be able to hold this.
It's going to be, great Fanciful Fireworks by the Delphox, just to prevent Sucre from pushing in with that Reggie. They did manage to get rid of that Regieleki, but they do lose 2 members of their Pokemon down, and this is still in favor of Sucre. They're just being able to be aggressive early with their level lead as well, which is really, really good to see. Delphox is back in the top side, and Lapras Zugrog is just holding off the fort from the bottom lane against that Trevenant, but Oni is moving up and down relatively swiftly now. OJ trying to go through the central. Gyarados really pushing forward on the heavy attack here, using his Unite, going through, gets a hit of the Blaziken. Blaziken may go down here, which he doesn't yet so far, but Zug manages to fish him off. Phantom Forest goes through as well. You can see that OJ is pushing on the hard yards of the fight, keeping Sucre off guard. Trevenant trying to hold the fort there. Venusaur with a great Solar Beam against the Delphox. Zug with a 40 dunk. Gyarados with a 24. Another Solar Beam on top of Zug. Zug managing on 1 HP while Venu and Eldegoss goes down. You can see that Gardevoir trying to go in there with defensive support fire, but now Failings on top of Gardevoir going down. So this is a bit of a back and forth, as we can see, Ender, and I would say it was a bit of an even trade.
Yeah, the trade started really well with Machisel, as we see both these teams still fighting for that Regirock. The Secure is there on the side of Sucre, but these teams haven't let up yet. Orange Juicers do have the HP advantage here, but the numbers favor Sucre. Verdant Anger goes out as well, and just bombs being thrown out from both sides here.
Yeah, Venu's Solar Beam getting rid of Unite, getting rid of the Delphox as well. Gyarados coming in, but gets caught by the Blaziken, and there goes the overheat. Gyarados managed to bounce out of the way, though. You could see more offensive fire, just so much frontline damage from Sucre, preventing Orange Juices from getting in there. Gyarados, though, really trying to keep things at bay. No Unite moves may go down here, but they are trying to hold the line. You can see Umbreon trying to really keep a distance there. Failings in a lot of trouble, may go down, and does though, thanks to the Gyarados and the Delphox. And now you can see Lapras Express with the Gyarados bounce into the tier 1 pad. Trevenant trying to defend, but not able to. Gets Fire Spinned out of the way. Zug with a 13 score, leaving the pad a little bit lower. Trevenant being isolated there. Another bounce from Gyarados, while Venu is just solar beaming his defensive techniques away. Delphox Fanciful Fireworks on the tier 1 pad. You can see Lapras just really trying to hold the line, but gets knocked out by the Failings. And now Blaziken going through on the Umbreon. Umbreon in a little bit of trouble. Gardevoir still there in the support fire, and Sucre right now they've been just constantly aggressive defensively and offensively against OJ right now.
Yeah, neither of these teams able to catch a break. Even Nuggy needs a little bit of a break here, as these teams are just going blow for blow here. Zugreg doing a nice job trying to carry his team on his back, both literally on that Lapras Express we saw Machisel go, but also figuratively picking up a lot of KOs that you wouldn't expect from a Lapras. So really nice to see. Phalanx was able to break that top pad. So finally, one of these pads to go down, as both of these teams have been fighting pretty much the whole game for some of this positioning here. Now, the bottom Reggie is something that a lot of teams have started to focus on. This top Regieleki, it can help you develop a point lead, but the basement Reggie going into Rayquaza gives you a buff that ultimately helps you win the fight at Rayquaza, which is what Pokemon Unite is all about. So we're going to see if Orange Juices can secure it, just barely. They're going to be able to walk into this Ray fight with a Reggie Steel now, Nuggy.
Yeah, Reggie Steel buff is absolutely instrumental for any side as we move into the Ray Pit there. Now, all teams are going through. You can see Phalanx maybe go for a little bit of a distraction, does manage to jump away there. And you can see Gyarados going after the Phalanx. Lapras, though, Zugra getting a little bit of damage. Great overcap here from 120, which will signal the Orange Juices to really retaliate here. They are trying to find some space, but none given as of this time. Gyarados is fighting the Phalanx, manages to get rid of him. So this is a great advantage now. But Eldegoss somehow manages to get an 80 dunk, breaking the tier 1 pad from Orange Juices, and Ray is still untouched at this point in time.
Yeah, so that's a 200-point lead for a Sucre, but Orange Juicers still have this Reggie Steel buff, and they have the player advantage here as Flareon gets caught out by that tree, able to get that eject off as the fight is breaking out.
great beam as well. Venu getting rid of the Gyarados. Orange Juice is in a lot of trouble right now. Cotton Cloud Crash being used as well. You can see Flareon trying to hold the fort with what he has left. Zugrug trying to give him that defensive support capability. But look at the Eldegoss on the X speed running through. Lapras going down through Eldegoss, does a little bit of a spinneroonie there. And it looks like Orange Juice is in a heck of a lot of trouble. Gardevoir, though, still has its singularity ready to rock and roll. They have 40 seconds left to go, Inder. It looks a little bit bleak, but I believe they still have one last push in them.
Yeah, one great thing about Gardevoir is a Pokemon that excels at burning down Rayquaza. So as time is running out, the Orange Juicers are going to start to look at Rayquaza here and throw everything they've got on it. They're going to use that Fairy Singularity to try to assist in the secure. Machizel's got his Unite move as well. So there's that Fairy Singularity. Can they secure Rayquaza?
It's going to be what Fox gets it right there. So great secure, but with only 12 seconds left, you got to wonder if they can make it. Gardevoir gets a 200 dunker at the top. Gyarados may be able to get another one here. This will be an absolute close one. Not sure if it's enough, though. They might just fall short if it was over 200 points.
I think the Orange Juicers were behind by more than 200, and it might have come down to the difference that Phalanx can keep 60 points in their pocket as opposed to that normal 50.
Oh, the extra 20. Yeah, the extra
stretch.
20. Yeah. Oh, 22. Okay. Woo.
Yeah, so it wasn't exactly based on that, but that Regieleki walking plus the Phalanx cap made all the difference there in the end. And the Eldegoss getting that 80 break unsuspectingly on that tier 1 earlier as well. All of these things add up. Close game, but came down to the wire there.
Yeah, I think what Sucre did so well just then is just the fact that before the Ray popped off, they were able to get the Regieleki into the tier 2 pad, and Phalanx was able to get that 120 down, as you said. And I think OJ sent 2 members there, Gyarados and I think Umbreon, just to go up to attack on the Phalanx. But by that time, they were so distracted that Eldegoss was even able to dunk at 80, where I feel that he shouldn't have. But I think Zugrug was just narrowly late into stopping Eldegoss from scoring that 80 there. And I think that's maybe when a little bit of panic set in and they just couldn't find their footing until those last 40 seconds or so when Machizel was finally able to get into that Ray Pit and rip.
Yeah, the pick on the Phalanx was good. And I think fundamentally, I like the Orange Juicers play to give up that cap in exchange for a KO. Some things probably went wrong afterwards where we saw Flareon get caught out. He was forced to use his eject. And like you said, all that distraction led to that bottom pad being broken. If they were able to get that bottom pad defended, have that tier 1 goal up and, come back into the Ray fight, down enemy team down a Phalanx, they have their Unite moves. I think they would have been really solid to be able to take better positioning in that game. But because of those, a couple of those small little blunders, Sucre, who played a phenomenal game throughout the entire 10 minutes, were able to close that one out. Yeah,
no, definitely can't wait to see what they do in round 2. And just to give you guys a brief update on what's happening in the other scenes as well, we can see in the lower round 2 on the Unite Battle Hub current side, will we pass the first round going up against Captain Mayo and friends? So they will be trying to fight it off in the lower bracket there to see if they can, one of them can stay in the competition, because the winner of that will be going up against Paragon in the lower bracket. And Paragon was the team that did give Orange Juicers a run for their money, as they've known each other so well. But back to round 2 here, Orange Juicers going up against Sucréosucre. So again, another Garchomp ban. Just a respect to Machizel, Inder. He's just well known for a lot of the Pokemon that really wasn't thought of in a lot of meta tournaments to be involved here. And obviously they're very afraid of Machizel's Garchomp.
Yeah, in a way, like you said, it can be a respect ban, but, for a lot of these players, they might even interpret it as disrespectful. Like, hey, you think I can only play Garchomp and you are going to waste one of your bans on that instead of a more traditional ban? So I think Machizel might take that a little personally. And, he looked good on the Gyarados. We'll see if he's going to change it up this game and try out something else, as that Umbreon gets taken away from the Orange Juicers, which Roland was doing a great job with last game.
Yeah, and we can see Kratos this time being able to take the Blaziken away from a Sucre, and we didn't talk enough about Venusaur, but I would say with the Sludge Bomb buffs and the Solar Beam, he was just constantly pumping that out, and it was very hard for OJ to really target that Venu, so he was just being able to whittle them down little by little there. So Oni back again on the Venusaur, why not? It didn't really disrupt him in game 1, so we're going to see how OG is going to respond to this. Are they going to be able to reach the Venu? Because if we look right now, if that Metagross is locked in, that front line is absolutely solid.
Yeah, I really like the way Sucre approaches draft, as we see as Zoroark pick. Like I was saying, Machismo might take things a little personally if he sees that Gyarados or that Garchomp ban. But fundamentally, Sucre's draft made a lot of sense last game. They had a lot of bulky all-rounders. Orange Juicers went the typical double mage kind of strategy to counter out some of those all-rounders, but they rounded out their comp with a long-range artillery sniper that can outrange that Gardevoir, outrange that Delphox as well that Flareon's picked up. So I like their draft in game number 1. Game number 2, I think this game is going to be up to Machismo. It's almost like you either live by Machismo or you die by Machismo. That's a lot of Zoroark gameplay in general.
Yeah.
Looks like a tough game. He's got 4 defender or 4 tanky Pokemon he has to get through.
I mean,
but we'll see.
how does Zoroark fare here? Because we know the speedsters are, in a sense, relatively weak to the defenders, and the fact that they have such a meaty team to protect Venusaur, I don't know how they're going to pull through this, but I think Flareon's will also be a key. I mean, with Mystical Fire, actually, it should be Hyper Voice at this stage, right? And just based on that front line being there, if he's able to keep his distance and put that charge away, it should do well, but I could be wrong.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Like, based on the front line that exists in this game, and even with the items that he's gone with those Wise Glasses, should be expecting him to play some Hyper Voice and provide some frontline damage. The thing about Zoroark is, yes, it does traditionally struggle into defenders. That mean look Umbreon can just lock it down. But yeah, Zoroark has tools in its kit to be able to dodge it. Illusion can give you a momentary iframe that can completely fizzle out that mean look.
Yes.
And if you get further far enough ahead of Zoroark, there's no real counter to it. As long as you stay alive and you have a strong momentum in the early game, nothing can really stop this Pokemon outside of maybe a Slowbro, which is banned away this game.
It was banned, yeah. So we're gonna have to wait and see. And you can see Beldum is the central laner for Sucréosucre this time, so that's kind of cool to see. Chansey going in for a little bit of a sneaky invade. Will Roland be able to get it? Maybe, and it does manage to take that away. And this is huge. This is a great response for the start of round 2 for Orange Juicers.
Yeah, Roland doing a good job recognizing that Sucre, whatever they decide to send to the central area is going to be weak outside of maybe the Phalanx. Saw that the Phalanx was top, so either there's a Bulbasaur in there or a Beldum, both of which a Chansey can defeat with a Pound. So he sneaks in there, gets that red buff, gets a stack on the top side as well, and that's what they need. They need some momentum in this early game for Machismo to be able to start snowballing.
Speaking of, Machismo is in position right there. I'm sure Sucre knows it as well. As we wait for the Swablues and Alterias, there goes Orange Juices hitting it right now. Machismo going for the attack, getting a great KO. Torchic getting that away from Phalanx, and now what a great Blaze Kick there as well, picking up another KO. Umbreon just really can't do anything with that amount of early firepower, and this is great to see OJ having that advantage.
Yeah. And OJ, funny enough, they have 3 stacking Pokemon on the top side, 2 attack weights, and a stacking specs. They're all able to get their stacks as that red buff almost goes to the side of Machismo as well. But this early game scaling is going to be really important as Machismo continues to dominate in the enemy central area here, Nuggy.
Yeah, and love that Flareon tried to get that blue, but Trevenant saw that coming, managed to get that assist there. So Matang now trying to get online, but you're right. Right now, Machismo is doing everything in his available kit to give their team that lead before it gets a little bit more difficult later down the road. Machismo in a little bit of trouble right now, but great help by Zug there, really trying to give his ally a helping hand as we move forward here. Machismo does manage to get away. Hyper Voice being played there. Flareon's trying to give that assist. And I was going to say, like, how hard is this going to be for Zugrug? Because he's just one defender against just a full team of aggressive a full team of meat, can we say there? Just I don't know how he's going to be able to block all that, but we can see that at least Orange Juices has a lot of firepower behind them.
Yeah, the Hyper Voice is gonna provide the much needed spacing for Zugrug if he ever gets a heavy slam, even if it's on a frontliner. Hyper Voice is able to shred away those special defenses and do a lot of damage. So this duo partnership between Zugrug and Flareon's is going to be really important this match. If they can set up a lot of damage on the front line, as Zug's going to look for a heavy slam, no Hyper Voice to follow up. But we see Machizzle on the back line coming in for a flank.
Going through, but gets mean look though, and he tries to use his Unite to try and stay alive, which he does manage to bounce away, and now doing the Reggie Rock. Meanwhile, Zug is just distracting the 4 versus 3 situation there, but a mean look on Flareon's gets it knocked down, so this will be a little bit detrimental. Solar Beam should be up in play too, does get there, but Zorak Machizzle manages to secure the Reggie Rock in just a really disadvantaged situation there. Zug able to block, and I love the fact that he's pulling them away from the tier 1 pad, because all we can see right now is just Blissey defending on its own while Flareon's managing to come back in time. Now, while that is happening, Blaziken does manage to dunk a few points here and open that tier 2 space on the top path. So this was a great play by Orange Juices. Just a far cry from what happened in game 1, because they have such a monumental lead right now.
Yeah, that was really well done by Machizzle. He saved the last part of his feint attack, that final jump, to get that last hit on the Reggie. And then Kratos was able to make his way on the top side, as he does go down in the enemy central area here. Unfortunately, Zug trying to pick up the pieces, has a heavy slam over the wall, able to get away, and failing forced to retreat there. But yeah, a lot of very interesting mechanics coming into play here. In that 1v1 between Blaziken and Phalanx, Blaziken actually gets blaze stacks on each one of the Phalanx troopers, providing an enormous amount of healing. So that keeps him, very, very healthy in that 1v1. Likely what came into play to push that Regieleki in, as we just saw. Flareon's force uses Unite move. Unite moves on the top side as well.
That was actually a massive play there for OJ, managing to burst 2 Unite moves, but this is in taking account to get rid of that tier 2 pad with a decent overcap. So this really opens up doors. I think Orange Juices is going to be relatively safe from here on, and while that's happening, as you said, the duo combination of Flareons and Zugrug trying to hold the line right now. You can see currently 3 men, now 4 versus 4. Sucre in a lot of trouble. Umbreon does use its Unite to try and stay afloat. Metagross getting rid of that Blissey, though Venusaur now in a lot of trouble, but manages to stay afloat thanks to the Phalanx and the Umbreon here. So they do lose a little bit that battle, but there was only, I believe, a 4 overcap there, so slightly off. And while that happened, Machizzle did manage to get rid of the Regieleki to apply some pressure to Sucréosucre. So we're going to see how that plays out. A tier 1 for a Regieleki.
Yeah, normally this trade would be favored for Sucréosucre. You don't really care to get a Regieleki if you can just break a pad normally, as we see this bottom objective or bottom side fight going out as well. But what's important here is that Orange Juicers, as we do see Kratos is going to go down in this tree, engage here as well. Machizzle, if he can get away, no, he's mean looked, and that's going to be the end of Machizzle. Those are some unfortunate KOs. But what's important for the Orange Juicers, Nuggy, is that because they were able to take down this Regieleki at the 4:30-minute mark, the next Regieleki will spawn at an adequate time that the Orange Juicers can use to have this sort of pin checkmate situation that they can use now that they've taken down this top 2 goal, which is all that they were really looking to accomplish by stalling out that bottom tier 1.
Yeah, this is great observation there. Machizzle going through. Venusaur does break its Unite move as well. Machizzle in a bit of trouble. Does illusion away. Nice dash from the Solar Beam as well. Oni now getting a little bit caught. His teammates isn't going to be able to help him from this one as Zugrug pushes him back in amazing slow-mo action here. But we can see that Blaziken gets rid of the Venu, but not without Phalanx getting rid of the Blaziken as well. And you can see, though, slowly but surely, Sucre is trying to get that dunks in, but Zugrug with a fantastic block in between. The Hornleech not getting anyone there, and Orange Juice is able to successfully defend their tier 1 pad, as Regieleki, as you said, around the checkmate scene is going to pop up in 10 seconds time.
Yeah, so wonderfully done by the Orange Juicers. We do see Sucre trying to set up. They understand the urgency of this Reggie Alecki here as well. They can force the Orange Juicers to fight now, that'd be good. If they can force them to take down this Reggie Alecki now, which will give them some time to clear it, would also be good. But it's going to come down, and Flareon's able to get it with the Hyper Voice Tech through the Solar Beam, and
Oh
that's going to
no.
be troublesome for the European
Yes.
squad here.
And you can see Machisel going through on the offensive as well. Almost a team white. Only Trevenant remains. But right now, with the Reggie Alecki and Ray coming up, this may be over for Sucre for game number 2. You can see they're ripping it really, really quickly right now. Trevenant, no Unite move in play. He's going to try and go for a sneaky steal, but I don't think it's going to be able to be done as Blissey, with that Bliss assist, secures that Ray. Wow. Reggie Alecki is still going down to the central home pad. And this, overall, we talked about NA right now. This is something that we get to see. This is NAIC champs, guys. They have showed why they are such a dominant force. And I think just from game 2, they were practically flawless in this round.
Yeah, I think after game number 1, Machisel, sees his Garchomp, gets banned out. Gyarados, didn't look too bad on the Gyarados, but he did end up going down at that Ray fight without getting his Unite off. And I think this game he was ready to put on a much, much bigger of a show. So nice to see him take that Zoroark, not even ask for a Comfy. He said, give me a Blissey, it doesn't matter. And he did well with it into a team that normally you might struggle into, that Umbreon with that mean look, Trevenant with all that displacement, and a whole bunch of other tanky Pokemon behind it.
Yeah, I think this just really highlights Machisel's mechanical gameplay as a Zoroark going up against all these meaty characters. We were worried about it, but you can see that they pulled this off really, really well. The offensive Pokemon that were there, like Blaziken, was able to make use of it. Flareon's and Zugrug, though, great defensive team. I mean, that is probably one of the duos that really stalled Sucre's offensive line when it was essentially 4 versus 2 half the time, in time for units like Blissey and Blaziken to come help, while Machisel was just offlane and doing the important objectives that needed to be done for, as you said, the checkmate situation. And they did that really, really well. So hats off to OJ for giving us a great comeback match. And we get to cast a game 3 between these two teams, which is amazing to see.
Yeah, for most of today's tournament, aside from just one series that happened earlier in the lower bracket between Yalabingo and Paragon, every time North America has faced off against Europe, Europe has won. Now we're in game number 3. Orange Juicers, they've got the burden to defend NA's honor on their back. As well as, just their own personal pride in being the NAIC champions. They definitely don't want to make a lower bracket run in a tournament where they're considered the favorites. So I think they're going to be playing with that in mind in game number 3 to try to close out this series.
Yeah, this is going to be a series definitely that you don't want to miss, guys. And just to remind everyone that next week the brackets will be completed on the 29th. That's when the finals will kick in. So make sure to tune in to watch through either Twitch or YouTube. YouTube to subscribe, Twitch to follow, guys, from INGAGE here, as we don't want to miss any more of these amazing teams that are playing and putting on the display of force for us in the off season, and just in a way great practice for them as they moving into the world stage in Hawaii in August later this year. So it's looking really, really exciting as we're moving into that end game stage. And the fact that this was just game 2 going into game 3, and now I was worried. I don't know if you were worried, and maybe you were a little bit worried. I was worried for OJ with that gameplay, but they showed us mechanically why they are champs, why they are just so good at what they do. And what is Sucre's response now? Because I thought Sucre had a really good team, but they got a little bit outplayed. So how are they going to come back for this game 3? What do they need to do? And does OJ need to change anything?
Yeah, I think game number 1, a big problem for the Orange Juicers was the draft. I think they kind of fell into a bit of a trap getting playing into that Venusaur while they had double mages that got outranged by it. Game number 2, the adjustment was really good. That bringing that Zoroark to have some more backline access and apply more early game pressure was really, really important. I think Orange Juicers won't make that same draft mistake again. But with them selecting over the tree, they are going to lose over Blaziken this time to Sucréosucre, which has been a pretty pivotal piece as it's the only Pokemon to win both games here in game number 1 for Sucre and game number 2 for the Orange Juicers.
Yeah, would you say Blaziken right now, with the recent buff that it's had, is we're going to definitely see a lot more of it as a pivotal character for Worlds, since the cooldown reduction by 1 second is really, really nice for it.
Yeah, the cooldown reduction's a great, is a very monumental buff, and the healing actually was improved as well.
Oh
on
yes,
this Pokemon.
yes.
So getting it some more staying power in these team fights. What's funny is we saw Japan actually use this Pokemon quite a bit in their nationals before the buff, and I think the North American team saw that and they started practicing it a little bit more. We didn't get to see as much of it at NAIC, but I think that teams might have just been a little bit behind on that meta call. Now that we see, a lot of the international tournaments conclude, all of these teams are upping their Blaziken play. So yeah, we'll definitely see. This will probably be one of the Pokemon that ends up defining the world's meta, whether, you're going to get the Blaziken or how you're going to play against it.
Now, we are seeing Machizel on the Phalanx right now, and there are a couple of answers already to combat not just Machizel in particular, but just the Pokemon that he's using. Now, as we talked about Blaziken with the added buff to healing, Lucario, most likely with the E-Speed and whatnot, it's going to give Machizel a little bit more of its worse for wear. And Oni sticking with that Venusaur for all 3 games now. So it is the poke that they needed. Crustle being used for this one as well. So what do you think is going to happen here, Indo? How is OJ going to respond to this? Because if we look, I mean, Blissey, Roland has been, I would say, very pivotal as well. I mean, each of these guys has been just amazing watching how Orange Juices play here. How is Machizel going to combat against essentially the 3 Pokemon that counters it?
Yeah, it's looking a little rough. What's good here for Machizel is that I don't think this is going to be a Petal Dance Venusaur. I think Oni's going to stick to that Sludge Bomb Solar Beam.
Yeah.
So he's not going to have to deal with that. But like in game number 1, this Venusaur was able to outrange the Gardevoir from Orange Juicers. And I feel like that gave them a lot of trouble. And now they don't have something like that Zoroark to dive the backline. And like you said, there's a couple counters for Machizel on Phalanx. There's going to be this extreme speed, which, is a hit or a miss of a counter. Yes, he gets those resets off each individual trooper, but you are still playing Lucario with extreme speed. And one mistake, if Machizel is able to jump away from that E-Speed, can leave that Lucario kind of out for wear there, and it can be very dangerous. So I think drafts look relatively even. I would give a slight edge to Sucre, but I think either one of these teams can take it, and it's going to come down to whoever has the better game.
Now, I'm thinking here, with Flareon's being the central laner, would he then opt for more of a Mystical Fire build, since it's not as meaty as before? And I would say Mystical Fire is relatively good against the Pokemon lineup that Sucre has chosen, or will he stick to the Hyper Voice?
I think Mystical Fire definitely looks like it would be good this game, but I believe it might just be another case of Hyper Voice. A little bit more comfort for Flareon's, and he performs really well on it. He always has high damage numbers on this Pokemon with Hyper Voice. Given his item loadout as well, I think we're expecting more of a Hyper Voice this game. And he's just going to use that one red buff to come top and be really annoying. The rest of the central area, I think, will go to Kratos. He'll end up going cleaning that up right now, as with Zugrug, as both of them go back to that blue buff.
Yeah, doing really well here, just making sure that their buffs are well taken care of. Zagra getting that blue away as well. It does look like they are struggling a little bit on the bottom path against Sucre here with the Crustle and Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur about to evolve into Ivysaur, which he does. Zagrug managed to get that final Altaria in though, so a little bit of an even kill there from the bottom path. But as we move on to the top, that's where most of the action is going. We can see Machizel getting those stacks in, Roland helping him out. And even though Lucario is there, he's not level 5, so he doesn't have access to that extreme speed right now. So Machizel is doing well. Flareon's though in a little bit of trouble, but Combusken managed to get that with 1 HP remaining, and now Roland in a lot of trouble. Machizel waiting in line there, but 3 members there from got Sucre going in, managed to get rid of Blissey. Now Machizzle in a lot of trouble with that mean look as E-Speed is now active and online, had to eject away there that Curlier, and now we're going for a little bit of a reset as the central farm is up.
Yeah, both of these teams having a bit of a close fight. Orange Juicers not able to make way as Flareons did get KO'd at the start. But Machizzle's continuing to apply a lot of pressure here. Does get stuck in this mean look, so
Great.
it's going to be a bit of a trouble. But yeah, they get that KO still.
Yeah, good job, Flareons. I love the awareness that these guys have. Machizzle trying to really initiate the fights here while Flareons try to do the pick-off. Now, Lucario is up there, manages to get away. Flareons a bit about half HP. Zugrug trying to defend the bottom part. You can see, managed to get that secure on the Indeedee. Great moveset there from Kratos, just stalling out Sucre from pushing any further. But right now, Kratos really needs to try and find a way to become a Gardevoir. Still a while a ways off as we lose a lot of that central farm to Sucre. And but they do have the central buffs ready to go, so hopefully Kratos is able to evolve soon and get that much needed spike that he's there for. But moving on to the bottom lane, Regice has spawned, so not a big deal, but this is still going to be an advantage to whichever team takes it. And for right now, you can see Flareons is just stalling away while that Regice is going down, and it looks like an easy secure for Sucre.
Yeah, because of that EXP struggle on the side of Orange Juicers, they were forced to be able to give this up. But Kratos able to rotate top, did find his Gardevoir. They got this Regieleki, and they're going to get this to push in as well. So relatively even trade. This is going to be able to give them some good points. They got some much needed experience and some stacks. And Orange Juicers doing their best to try to stall things out here. But Zugrug already going down. Flareons gets a shield from the pad and able to stay alive. Nice beam from Oni to pick him off as he goes down as well. But Orange Juicers able to keep their pad alive, and this is really important with them being able to develop a point lead here.
Yeah, this is a good trade-off right now. You know, Blissey and Gardevoir will be able to get there in time to pick up what Flareon's left for them. Machizzle going through on that Crossle. Crossle just getting crowd controlled by the Trevenant. There goes a Verdant Anger from Venu right now. Solar Beam as well, not able to KO anyone, but Blaziken managed to get rid of the Phalanx. Ejects onto Flareon as well. Flareon able to get away. You can see Orange Juices is just trying to keep that tier 1 pad alive, while Sucre has essentially, for most part of this game so far, has really been trying to target that bottom path, but unsuccessfully just breaking that pad down.
Yeah, these tier 1 goals, especially the bottom side, are really important for these mages. It gives them a additional layer of security when it comes to their Rayquaza fight. So both of these teams we're going to see, they're going to be trying to fight over it, as we do see the multiple extreme speeds on his Phalanx. But Phalanx is such a strong and tanky Pokemon. Even after taking 5 E-speeds to the face, he's pretty much full health.
Yeah, now good math there from Sucre, leaving the pad on 1, but are they going to be able to capitalize it as we reach the halfway mark? Now, mean look being put on, and now Gardevoir being targeted by the defenders. You can see the E-speed going through, though. Lucario in a bit of a strife does get KO'd by the team of OJ, and now this is looking quite grim for Sucre. They tried to go hard at it, not able to do so, while Venu is solar beaming away. Blaziken trying to push back, but Zugrug, probably one of the worst characters you want to pull back, as he's able to Horn Leech out of there, and now Blaziken pays the price. And for the second time now, we do have a Regice, while Orange Juicers managed to get rid of the tier 1 pads. So Sucre in quite a bit of trouble, even with the Pokemon that they have. Machizzle just able to really draw their attention away, and right now Sucre's on the back end. They need to find ways to catch up here.
Yeah, I think teams are going to start to realize that the Phalanx Pokemon, you know, despite there being these theoretical counters, whether it's the extreme speed or Blaziken with the amount of healing, that the Pokemon is just so strong that it can overcome any of these differences within its kit. And, you know, Trevenant, another Pokemon, Zugrug proving why this Pokemon got nerfed in the last patch, but also proving that maybe the nerfs weren't enough, as he's able to get 2 important KOs.
I mean, they added the cooldown timer, but Zugrug just needs to hit it one time, and that's all she wrote. Phalanx able to get rid of that Venu at ease. Bliss assist on top of the Phalanx right there. Lucario trying to E-speed as an escape tool. You could see Crustle, I'm trying to think Crustle's really trying to be there with the Instigate and going through on the Gardevoir, but there's just no follow-up for the Crustle, while Machizzle is just stalling the other three from Sucre. Machizzle just taking all the hits, but not getting KO'd, even with the Burdock and Solar Beam. Machizzle able to take so much punishment, just emptying the gas tanks from Sucre there. And you can see that OJ is able to keep themselves topped up. The sustain that OJ has is just unbelievable. I really thought for sure there that Machizzle was gone, but here he is back, almost full health, at it again.
Yeah, you don't get to hear this very often, but that was truly a Reggie Ice diff right there. Where Machizzle got extra points of healing while that Verdant Anger was just about to hit him. And in his no retreat form with that extra damage reduction, able to stay alive. And would have been a really important KO for the side of Sucre if they were able to collect that experience on the side of Phalanx, but not able to quite secure that, as the Orange Juicers now, they have a final Reggie buff that they can use at the Ray fight. This time it's going to be the Reggie Steel as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. It's so rare to see a Reg Ice Beast. It's so useful, and that actually saved the team. That now Lucario, trying to do some scoring, will be able to do 100 points there from the Tier 1 Prad, breaking that and now giving that lead a lot less closer than what it is. But Clem now trying to run away from the situation, while Orange Juicers just positioning themselves around the Ray Pit, trying to defend themselves there. Now, a little bit of a choke point being put into contention here. Now, Crustle trying to go in and suss out everything, does get caught by Zugrug and Flareon trying to do damage there. Figo trying to run away. Phalanx trying to hold top there against the Lucario. A little bit of a standoff. Blaziken trying to go after Machizzle. Machizzle, though, it looks like no attacks actually harmed this Pokemon, as he's still relatively full HP. As we go back to a reset, another mean look on Trevenant, but I don't know. They're just not able to find a gap here, and we are going to see what Sucre is going to be able to do to push themselves forward in this team fight.
Yeah, Sucre is the team that needs to make something happen, but it's just so tough into Pokemon like Phalanx, and when you have a Blissey who's got these special attack specs locked and loaded, able to provide so much sustain. There's only about a minute left. Sucre knows that they're behind by somewhere relative close to 100 points. Zugrug is going to start to take a lot of damage.
Machizzle!
Tree is so good here.
Dang, Bliss assist right there as well. Lucario manages escaping, but Venusaur was very much a huge playmaker for Sucre, and losing that right now in the last 40 seconds and less of the game, this may be detrimental. The only thing that Sucre can potentially do here is do a sneaky score of sorts, but you can see that Orange Juicers have picked word of that. They're holding the line. Trevenant holding the tier 2 pad. Flareon's on the tier 1 pad on the bottom, and this is a great defensive play from Orange Juicers. No Ray needed, and you can see Machizzle just holding the fort from the Ray as well. So Orange Juicers able to just cover all weaknesses being taken here. Now you can see that Lucario tried for a sneaky score, not able to do so, but with a few seconds left, there may be a 52! Oh no! This may be Crustle's time to shine. Doug not able to secure enough. It may be really close here, India.
Yeah, I think Roland did get a 62 on the other side around the same time to match that cap, so the Orange Juicers should be up by just a little bit here.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were able to match that cap. Good on Sucre to do that split cap with about 20 points. It's really tough for a single Pokemon to hold it down. But yeah, such a close end game. As I know, we just had the folks over from Unite Battle Hub tune in as well into game number 3, where we see Orange Juicers pull out just a nail biter of a game 3 here, off the back of some really, really impressive Phalanx gameplay on Machizzle.
Yeah, that's unbelievable how close that was. And geez, great play from both teams there, just really showcasing their defensive and offensive capabilities. And I think just for the entirety of that 2-minute match, Orange Juicers, knowing how far ahead they were, was just defending themselves really, really well. And they were able to just narrowly hold off, as Roland able to take that 62 dunk off in the final seconds, as Crustle was able to do his 52. So they just cancelled each other out, and this was a good win for OJ as they stay in the upper bracket. Now, as we move forward. Thank you for the raid from Unite Battle Hub as well. We are going to continue this series as we move forward, but make sure you tune in and follow on subscribe to YouTube and follow on Twitch, as we will be doing the finals and playoffs on the 29th, guys, as we move forward here. Now, as we seen, Sucre's been playing all of their matches in the 3 weeks of the ladders. They've played open qualifiers in the group stages. They've really grown, and they've versed up against NAIC, right, as the champs. So I'd say they performed really well here against Orange Juices. Wouldn't you say so, Inda?
Yeah, they've had to come to the grassroots scene, battling it out through the open brackets. So, we got to see them, or we didn't get to see them, but they did take down Ignorance as well, one of the professional teams invited to this event, and they took Orange Juicers to such a close game 3. So really, really impressed. They still have another chance in the lower bracket where they can still fight for that number 1 spot. As you said, we're going to be playing next week here on this channel. So make sure you guys are following, and some legendary talent's going to be joining us next week, where Doobsax and Zoinks from the official UCS broadcast are going to be covering some of these games. So it's going to be a really good time. We have Nouns and Orange Team Nemesis in this tournament, and this is going to be probably your only chance before Worlds, or one of your only chances to see some of these international powerhouses go against each other.
Yeah, it's crazy what the off season has done for Pokemon Unite, having not just the top quality teams from around the world coming together, but we've got some amazing top tier casters as well coming around, as well as analysts such as yourself, Inder. It's just been such a great show to see everyone who loves the game come together and just show off everything, hype everything up, make sure that this is something that you want to watch and see leading into Worlds, because that's going to be the penultimate scene. And we just kind of want to bring all that energy together to just hype everyone up and support your favorite teams as we lead into the final stretch in Hawaii there. So I think this is just such a great production by both Unite Battle Hub, INGAGE, Lotus, just every org that has something to do with Pokemon Unite coming together, and it's just been such a great thing to see. And right now, just to let you know, yeah, the off season isn't dead, guys. You just need to find the right peeps and organizations to kind of put all this together. All right. So and we're getting to watch this now. So this is really, really awesome to see. So yeah, this is awesome to see another round of this with you as well, Ender, in the next one as we go later on. Now the top 4 in the upper bracket is Nouns Esports, Lamos, Orange Juices, and Rework Respawn. Now that is a killer upper bracket, as we can see right now.
Yeah, Nouns versus Vamos is going to be a rematch from their regional group stage matches that we saw, or their regional play-in matches that we saw earlier in a couple months ago. Orange Juicers against Rework Respawn. Rework Respawn, who took down Nemesis earlier today. So Orange Juicers is going to have to fight for North America, as they're the only team left in the upper bracket to defend NA's honor. But yeah, all 4 of these teams are incredibly stacked. And it'll be exciting to see whoever we get to see in those finals. But yeah, that round number 3 next week's going to be exciting to watch for sure.
And just to let you know, because you said that NA has, so far in this tournament, hasn't been able to successfully beat an EU team, but Orange Juices was finally able to do that against Sucre. So congrats, NA. You're able to really represent your region there and able to put one for the NA on top here. So as you said, Orange Juices has NA on its back in the upper bracket, so we're going to see how they play off right now. Now they are versing against Rework, so that is another NA team. Sorry, it's a team in America right now, so we will see how they go a bit, and we can't wait to see what they're going to do later on in the finals. But in the bottom bracket, we do see that Ebal will be going up against either Sucre, who just lost to OJ, or any squad. So we're going to see how they go there into the final scene. So guys, we're gonna round 3 will be streamed on the 29th, right? So we can't wait to see what's going to happen there. But at the end of it, Inder, it's been pretty good to do this alongside you, and we can't wait to see you guys next week. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been awesome to share space with you, Nuggy. Really exciting to be able to join you on this casting desk here. And just a shout out to everyone watching, whether you came in from the Unite Battle Hub stream or you're watching on this stream as well. You know, we talk a lot about different organizations coming together, whether it's INGAGE, Battle Hub, Unite Mics, Lotus, whoever it might be, to make the offseason and the grassroots happen. But without the fans, without you guys watching, we would have no one to deliver this amazing content to. So make sure you guys are following the stream. Make sure you don't miss next week. That's where the real action is going to be. But it's been a pleasure to be able to serve you guys. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Yes, thanks everyone for being here, and we can't wait to see you next week. And tune in for more Unite, whether it's Indus streaming or anyone. Everyone is always streaming Unite, guys. So make sure to give them a follow. Keep updates with the Twitter X for the news, and can't wait to see you on the next one.
But look at this right now. The question is, are they going to be able to get away? No, they're not. It is going to be a 4 down man.